A very good morning, a good afternoon, and good evening to all of us from all the four corners of the globe as we have emerged and gathered for this great celebration when we are actually acknowledging and inaugurating our Africa Tourism Day. And we just want to appreciate our hosts, the Nigeria, who have actually opened their hearts and their platforms in order for us for the first time. May I please allow Angela, who is our program director, to lead us through the program of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bonjour. Good morning. We are live on Zoom, as you can see, for this virtual conference where we have the privilege to host 21 global leaders from 11 countries as our speakers today. Towards the end of the program, we will have a 30-minute Q&A session. So do stay tuned and keep noting down your questions and comments along the show. This event is organized by the ZIGO with the support of the African Tourism Board and event partners Our Way Travel, Gate Hub, Women in Business and Tourism, Women of Value, Rebuild Travel, Afri-Canada, Intel, DMX, Youth Tourism Connect, Carlo, Legendary Gold Limited, and more as listed on the africatourismday.org website. My name is Angela Equia Asante, aka AAA, founder and CEO of Tita Productions, and I am your host for this 3-hour program. Before we proceed, let me remind you of the housekeeping rules. Unless you are speaking, please keep yourself muted to avoid feedback. To speak, please raise your hand or simply tap raise hand and the facilitator will unmute you. To also ask questions, you can do that by typing into the chat function. The question will be read out by the facilitator. And finally, if you have any problems during the call, you can email info@africatourismday.org and setomi.a@africatourismday.org for immediate resolution. Get the conversation going on social media. The hashtag is ATD2020. On Twitter, tag the organizers at AF Tourism Day. And remember that the chat feature is open and that this presents a wonderful opportunity to network. So don't be shy, go all out. Tell us where you're tuning in from and share your LinkedIn profiles. Your next beef move could be created right here, right now on this Africa Tourism Day 2020 platform. Now, for 4 decades, the United Nations World Tourism Organization has celebrated World Tourism Day as international observances on September 27th. From today onwards, November 26th will be remembered as a day for Africans to celebrate tourism in Africa. Yes, today's event is an historic one indeed, as it is the first time the continent will have its own continent-specific Africa Tourism Day to celebrate its endowments and chart the way forward for the development of the tourism industry. The theme for this year is From Pandemic to Prosperity for Prosperity. Kindly mute yourself if you're not speaking to avoid feedback. Thank you very much. Anyways, let's keep going forward, and to brief you on the lineup of ATD 2020, we will have 3 segments. First, we will have our goodwill messages, but then we'll have our 7 guest speakers. The second one will be offering the floor to 6 illustrious past and present ministers and deputy ministers. And finally, we will give the platform to our 5 dynamic speakers from the private sector. Each speaker has been given a maximum of 5 minutes each to speak, although the recommended allocated time slot is 3 minutes. Some of the speakers' presentations are available on africatourismday.org. You may hop on the website for their full presentation. My name is Angela Equia Asante, aka AAA. Welcome one more time. And again, the housekeeping rules: if you're not speaking, please off your video and mute yourself. Off your video as well. Thank you very much. Let's begin with an opening remark from the one who birthed the concept of this African celebration, the one and only Madame Abigail Olagbaye, CEO of Desigo Tourism Development and Facility Management Company Limited. I'm hoping that she's available right now to kick off this program. Madam Abigail, are you able to hear me? And if that's the case, please unmute yourself and take the floor.
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you so much,
Madam
Angela.
Abigail Olagbaye.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Please
can
take
you
the
hear
floor
me?
away. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear and see you too.
Great, great. I welcome everyone, each one, all our guest speakers, all our guests, all our participants from all over the world. It's so good to see you and so nice, so beautiful to have you join us today on this great occasion, this great gathering of lovers of Africa and Africans from all over the world, from all over the continent. I welcome you on behalf of Desigo, our company, the organizer for this program in partnership with Africa Tourism Board. We welcome you so beautifully and so powerfully, and we're so happy that you're here with us today. On this special maiden edition of Africa Tourism Day, I welcome all excellencies, once again, industry professionals across the broad spectrum of the tourism value chain, from distant lands, from river to coasts, from the city to the village, from the hills to the valley, and from the farthest parts of the globe. Africa is home to all, you'd agree with me. It is the maiden edition of Africa Tourism Day, a call to every African by birth and lineage at home and abroad, and all who connect with the kindred spirit of Africa to celebrate the culture and tourism products offerings of this phenomenal continent, and to concert our focus and energies and resources into one formidable force to clinically x-ray the issues impeding the industry and to unbundle the solutions with the mindset of future generations in mind. The theme of this edition is Pandemic to Prosperity for Posterity. That's for future generations. We must not only plan tourism for the immediate, but we must also think about the future, our future generations. And so Africa will and must not remain under the scourge of such a debilitating pandemic, the COVID-19, that has severely affected the travel and tourism industry. Africa has always risen beyond its woes and survived the worst of times. It is what makes us who we are: resilient, strong, determined, and focused. It is therefore important that while we must be charting the way out, we must also be thinking of the climate crisis and how to mitigate it, our environment, our communities, inclusive groups like people with disabilities, the PWDs, the senior citizens, and the likes of them, and the entire spectrum of inclusive groups. And like I mentioned earlier, the future generations. So once again, I welcome you, and I welcome you and want you to look forward to an exciting time. We'll be addressing issues that cuts across the industry, from air connectivity to women in business, to young people, and also including community-based tourism as well, and you name it. So, and then would have a question and answer session as well, that you would also have the opportunity to ask questions, even though we will be limited to a few questions actually because of time. So I welcome you so nicely. I am excited. That's why I'm stammering. I'm so excited. I'm so happy seeing all the faces and seeing all the people joining us from every part of the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam Abigail Olagbaye, former Miss Tourism Nigeria. Thank you so much for putting this together. It was just only recently when you told me about this groundbreaking concept. Why don't we celebrate our own? Why don't we have our very own Africa Tourism Day? So the date is November 26th. It is historic, and every year on this date, we will be celebrating the best that Africa has to offer on the tourism terrain. Anyways, thank you again for your talk. We will now give the floor to our first Goodwill Messages speaker of the day, Dr. Taleb Rifai, former Secretary General of the UNWTO. Mr. Rifai was the Secretary General of the World Tourism Organization, heading the UNWTO since 2009 for 2 consecutive terms, ending in January 2018. We are extremely privileged to have him on today. Dr. Taleb Rifai, are you able to hear me? Dr. Taleb Rifai, are you able to hear me? Are you with us here and now today?
I think he has technical difficulties, and so he's not in here.
No problem, no problem. We will still have time to get him on the show as long as he's able to connect at some point within the next 3 hours. So we will now give the floor to Mr. Cuthbert Ncube, Executive Chairperson of the African Tourism Board, for his goodwill message. Mr. Cuthbert, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Angela, our program director for this day. And I believe that you will also be our program director for 2021, as we have started actually in propagating and preparing for 2021. The convener, Sigel, and all the team, we have made it possible for us to have this engagement, and the ATB ambassadors, we have worked behind the closed doors to make sure that it becomes a success. And our honorable ministers, I've seen our honorable minister Vilakadi from Eswatini for gracing us with your presence, and the Deputy Minister of Tourism from Mozambique, who should be joining us, and His Majesty from Ghana, and our excellencies from the diplomatic corps. We just want to appreciate and really acknowledge your presence, and all our audiences across the continent who have actually joined us this morning. Colleagues, Africa is the second largest continent on the planet, and it is envisaged that by 2030, Africa will have the youngest population in the world. All the energy and creative innovation of the world's youth will be in our motherland, in the African continent. And by the way, we're looking at approximately 30% of the world's annual gross domestic product is from Africa. I feel like pulling my hair. And to some of our leaders, it is business as usual. Yet we salvaging in poverty. You cannot, if you could translate that into US dollars, we're looking at 25 trillion US dollars per annum siphoned from Africa. Yet 85% of Africans, they live on less than $6 per day. This is not normal at all. The factual truth is that the world benefits financially and otherwise from the poverty of Africa and from the disintegration of our continent. The world benefits from the divisions of our member nations and the separation of our borders. And these are very fundamental issues. We need not shun away from them. The pandemic, therefore, should be a wake-up call for all of us whose love is embedded and vested towards a progressive continent. Maybe let me hasten to say, Europe steals from about 430 million Francophones, and nobody says anything about it. The Americans and the British are happy to sow discord between West Africans and East Africans and turns us against each other, divide and conquer. China is happy to buy our land and infiltrate our mines and own our people by bribing some of our prestigious leadership with petty cash money. May we stand and decry that enough is enough. As we celebrate this great occasion within the paradigms of the tourism sector, which, by the way, is one of the key factors and growth drivers of the continent's economy, contributing to a healthy gross domestic product to our continent. Africa, therefore, is surely destined to be the largest powerhouse of the world. It is time to drive our pride continent to her glory again. Dear friends, imagine what Africa would look like if we all desire to have a cohesive and integrated, a well-coordinated approach. As we inaugurate this event, the African Tourism Day, may I salute Nigeria to be the first to host this engagement. It might be virtual for now, but the impact is great. You are our pace setters, and we therefore thank you so much for that. As we look within, we need to use these platforms and especially tourism to empower, to unite us as nations so as to develop our countries through action projects that are homegrown, and it cannot be done. Rwanda, as a case study, it is one of the countries that has made great strides to improve tourism business investment. Ghana is one of the African nations that has staged a remarkable comeback and is predicted to be the world's fastest growing economy. Seychelles is ranked as the sub-Saharan country's top earners in terms of their gross national income. If only we could cross-pollinate and start seriously appreciating and fully implementing the intra-African trade, the inter-African investment, the inter-African travel, we will be able to develop our beautiful continent. And tourism is the forefront sector in achieving, in uniting and rebranding our motherland, our Africa, as the most preferred destination of choice in the world. I thank you so much as we look forward for a more exhilarating engagement as we celebrate, as we set the pace for mega and mega things that should happen in our continent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Cuthbert Ncube, for this powerful speech. And in the absence of Dr. Taleb Rifai, who I hope will be joining us a bit later, but if he cannot join us, we will proceed anyways. But Mr. Cuthbert Ncube, Executive Chairperson at the African Tourism Board, with your powerful speech of using tourism to rebrand Africa. Yes, that's the solution indeed. We are live on Zoom, and you can tweet about the program using the hashtag ATD2020. We now have to go to the next Goodwill Messages speaker. His Majesty Royal Panford, whom I hope is here with us. Majesty Royal Panford, founder of MICE, Women in MIEC, Miss MICE, Dixco of Ghana. His Majesty Royal Panford, are you around? Please make a sign if you are. Please make a sound if you are around with us. It looks like we are having technical issues with His Royal Majesty Royal Panford. So we will have to proceed. And of course, remember the housekeeping rules. If you're not speaking, please turn off both your video and your microphone so that we don't have any technical issues happening. And in the meantime, we will have to go to the next part of the program where we are to have a welcome by FTAN President Nigeria, Alhaji Rabo Saleh. Alhaji, are you around? If you are, please unmute yourself and take the floor. You have 3 minutes to make a welcome address.
Yes.
Alhaji Rabo Saleh.
Yes, I'm around. Can you hear me?
Fantastic.
Hello?
We can hear you. We can see you. So please take the floor.
The moderator, thank you very much. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen from all parts of the globe. On behalf of the Federation of Tourism Association of Nigeria, FTAN, I wish to sincerely welcome you all on this median edition of the African Tourism Board meeting. I think this marks a very, very great event for us, that Africa has really come of age, blessed with abundant tourism and natural resources, that we need to harness them and put them together. We have all the people, we have all the facilities and amenities that can attract visitors to Africa. But I think the first thing we need to do is to promote regional travel, because especially with the effect of the pandemic has affected us and it has affected international tourism and travels. Therefore, if we try to promote regional travels or domestic tourism, it will go a long way in sustaining us before the international tourists arrive. For us, FTAN, probably, if I can give a little brief on what FTAN is a private sector stakeholders body in Nigeria that stands and represents the interest of the private sector, and we work with the government to facilitate the activities of tourism in Nigeria. So I wish to use the opportunity to really appreciate and congratulate the organizers of this program for a wonderful event, and for also considering the 26th of November every year to serve as the year of African tourism. I think this is a very good initiative, and it's going to go a long way to promote our tourism and to bring unity among Africans, because we have to come together. Nobody is going to promote our continent for us. The chairman of African Tourism Board have said it all. He has enumerated what has been happening from Europe to China to America. They've been taking advantage of us in Africa. So it is us in Africa that have to come together and develop ourselves and promote ourselves, so that together we can grow our continent. Africa is great, and we need to do it, and we need to do it ourselves. And I also wish to really congratulate Madam Abigail and the host for organizing this and making Nigeria to be the host of this first median event. Nigeria is always #1, and we will always remain #1. We'll always be there to support Africa. As a big brother, we'll be there to support our brothers and our sisters to see that we grow Africa, that Africa is respected all over, and that Africa remains our center. Therefore, this is the first time, and this is the opportunity for us to do it. Nobody's gonna do it for us. We have to do it ourselves. So once again, on behalf of our federation and the Nigerian tourism industry, I wish to sincerely welcome us all. Nigeria is opened. We have everything. We're welcoming everybody to come and visit us and experience what we have. There are a lot of opportunities in Nigeria. Therefore, once again, I wish to thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to address this August gathering, and I wish us a successful deliberation, and I hope that all the presenters and what we're going to learn here today, we will put it into use and help it and use it to grow Africa and grow our tourism. So once again, thank you very much, and I wish us all a successful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alhaji Bravo, Saleh, with this very positive talk about Africa, and this is what we want. Supposed to go to move over to Nigeria, of course, the host country for this virtual conference, the maiden edition of the Africa Tourism Day. We are supposed to have a video showcasing the beauties of Nigeria. I'm hoping so that we can play the video and enjoy the sights of this beautiful West African country, one of the most populated countries in the world, and with a lot of green, nature and beautiful sights. So is the video ready? If it is, please play it away. And after that, we will move over to Zanzibar to also first session where we will have 7 guest speakers, illustrious speakers who are with us today from Zanzibar, from the Kingdom of Eswatini, from South Africa, and other countries around the continent. We are hoping that the technical team can play this video before we move forward, because tourism is also enjoyed with the eyes.
Okay, may I just tell you that videos are running right now, but they're unfortunately not running on the Zoom network. They're running on our live stream, and they're running on Facebook and so forth, what is a larger audience. The problem is videos came in quite late, and these two systems are not properly connected. So I will try to fix it, but right now the videos are running, actually just finished. So we can continue, but it's not on the Zoom platform. So unfortunately, you only see it on Facebook, or you see it when you go to any of the eTurbo News websites or African Tourism Board site and so forth. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so thank you for clarifying this, which of course I will be relying on you to let me know when I can have the go ahead to continue the program, because if the videos are playing on the Facebook platform, we will have to let the videos end before we continue here in Zoom. So I'm thinking that now I can go ahead, right? Yes, please. Fantastic. So now we are commencing session 1 of the Africa Tourism Day, where we will have Ambassador Amina Salum Ali from Zanzibar, who will be talking a short speech, 3 minutes, talking on strengthening and recovery for small tourism businesses in Africa, turning adversity to opportunity. Remember, the whole concept of this event is to have a very positive outlook on African tourism. Ambassador Amina Salum Ali, are you around, please?
Yes, Ambassador. I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly. We are so happy to have you on the platform. Thank you for your bright smile this morning. Please take the floor with your speech. 3 minutes, 5 minutes maximum.
Thank you very much, Angela. Today we are very lucky. We have rain here. Actually, you can hear the rain falling near where I am sitting. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the organizer of this day. We are here today to really celebrate Africa. Why we are celebrating Africa? Because, number one, Africa is the cradle of civilization. We all believe, and it's a fact, that the early men started in Africa, and all the civilization, the major civilization, originates from Africa. Africa also is the meeting point of 3 major religions. We have Christianity, you mentioned Jewish religion, you mentioned Islam. They all touch our African countries. At the same time, Africa, we also have our indigenous African religion. We have our own belief, we have our spirituality. We also have over 1,000 languages spoken in Africa, rich in mineral resources, rich in natural resources. Africa has everything God gave to us. There is a reason why we are today celebrating Africa. Now, this is a very important sector today because we're talking about tourism. And tourism is one of the leading sectors that really supports our economy and also impact heavily on our livelihood. All the families, many families depend on the tourism to earn their living. Therefore, we are gathered today to reflect on the future of our country and to investigate the initiative for recovery and resilience of African tourism. Now, we are in the situation because of pandemic. The situation calls for a bold and homegrown solution. Why? Because majority of our business enterprise in Africa are small and medium, and they're doing quite well. That means we need to strengthen our small tourism businesses to take advantage of the nature of tourists who visit Africa post-COVID-19. From Zanzibar experience, we are seeing a number of tourists who are coming to Zanzibar, mostly are from the small groups and families. And the consideration for both of them, for them and for us, is safety for our community and safety for our tourists. This is the priority. What I'm observing here in Zanzibar, mass tourism is not going to happen soon, and it will take some time. Small groups and families who are coming to Africa, and particularly when we talk about Zanzibar, they come here to get spiritual healing, also to enjoy and to forget the past, to forget the problem in their countries. Therefore, we need to have, as I said, homegrown solution by providing tailor-made program to support the various niches of tourism. Number one, we have to support domestic tourism. Even here, we have already a policy to support domestic tourism, whereby government provide incentive and other packages to be able for the domestic tourism to enjoy the destination attraction. Number two, we need also to encourage and support tourism businesses at the grassroots level, especially in the rural areas and villages. Why? Because most of our tradition, we are rich in tradition, and also in our culture, we have a lot of things to showcase to the tourists, whether it could be the way we live, the way we eat, the way we pray, the way we have all those beliefs. The custodian of this belief are the small and medium businesses who are in the rural area and at the village level. So therefore, there is a need to be able to support our small and medium businesses in the grassroots level, especially in the village and in the rural areas, so that they will have more to showcase and more narrative, and also they'll be able to promote Africa at their level. And our stories will be told through our own experience, because right now all our African narrative is being done by people who are outside Africa. For instance, why people should go to visit Eiffel Tower when they can go to Senegal and see the tower in Senegal, Dakar. Also, why people have to go to those other countries when they can go more in Ethiopia and other countries that really have history over thousands of years. So let's link with this major region in the world by encouraging small and medium tourists, as well as medium businesses, to be able to do the business. Again, another third item I want to suggest, to provide support to build capacity to these small and medium tourism businesses. Most of them, they don't have capacity, but when we talk about capacity, I'm talking about financial support, I'm talking about skills development, I'm talking about training on the way especially in the hospitality, how to provide hospitality, good hospitality to these students. I've seen this program, one program in China, a village was being all the integrated programs. They have integrated program. Why? Because the government gives them the support. So that means both public and private sector has a role to play. And all of us have to play our part to be able to support small and business. They are ready, especially women. They are ready. Some of them own small hotels, and some of them do catering, some of them, they do all sorts of things. But we need to support them, especially at this time, when most of the tourists who come to Africa, they are mostly small groups and families. Again, we need also to support them in accessing technology, especially the IT, because now we're talking through Zoom. They may need to know what is going on in the IT area, especially in how to be able to sell their product, how to be able to contact other, let's say, tour agent outside Africa, maybe within the country, so that we need, in short, to build institutional capacity of our small and medium tourism businesses, so that they become efficient, and also they can provide an excellent hospitality. Lastly, small tourism business, if supported accordingly, will create a positive impact and revive the tourism sector at present time. We can do it. We have over 92% of our businesses in Africa. Like I say, for instance, in Zanzibar, we have registered 92% of our businesses are small and medium. So if you really support them and push them in the tourism sector, we are going to really be on the way to revival of the tourism sector. And today, this is our day. I wish success of this meeting, and I think our discussion will rekindle the spirit that Africa is our continent, and we have to do from our own initiative. We have to do initiatives that can support Africa, and our government and our private sector, they have to work together. But I think that our government should put tourism investment high in our agenda to build infrastructure, to provide capacity, as I talk about capacity, skill development, and all sorts of training, and also to connect them to the international world, and also to connect them within the African continent. If you do that, as Africa, I'm sure African destination will become the reality. We should not allow other people to speak on behalf of Africa when we can speak ourselves. We have our culture, we have our dress, we have a way of doing business, we have a way of showing case of all the history of Africa. So I think this is what I wanted to say, and I'm very happy to be here today, and I wish success, and I hope next year we will have more discussion, and we'll have more activities, and we'll have more engagement, because Africa is on the rise. Thank you very much. I appreciate Angela, and all the best to everybody who is participating in this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Amina Salum Ali, former Minister of Trade and Industry from Zanzibar. And remember, she's a woman of so many achievements. Go on the website, africatourismday.org, check out her profile. There is more to read about her. We now have to go to our next speaker, Honorable Moses Vilakati, Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs in Eswatini since 2018. Honorable Moses Vilakati, are you able to hear me? Are you around, please?
I am able to hear you very, very clearly. It's like you are in Eswatini.
Fantastic, great. You are to share with us another powerful speech on strategic and sustainable mining of culture and heritage in a pandemic. Please share your notes with us, share your speech with us, and let's absorb your knowledge today. The floor is yours.
No, thank you very much. I am very pleased to be here to share a Swatini experience on this important day. And greetings to all. We all are aware that we now live in a new normal, the new normal under the COVID-19 pandemic, which has engulfed and actually crippled the tourism sector. But when you look at the theme today, that we're talking about pandemic for prosperity, it means that we've got an opportunity as countries, as Africa, as the whole world, to change the narratives. I think what is most critical is the fact that climate change and environmental issues and pandemics are here to stay. And therefore, we need to have a sustainable means of managing, mitigating, and adapting to that. But coming back to the issue of the pandemic, we know that 2020 has been a very, very difficult year for all industries, particularly the tourism sector. Our research in Eswatini has shown that the outbreak has really affected us big time, and we've seen a sharp drop in the demand for travels, up to almost 25% versus what we're getting before, and a surge in job losses globally, even in Africa, putting a number of tourism businesses at risk, which is impacting greatly on the tourism growth. Now, for us, we had to do an impact assessment study to determine the real extent of this, and therefore we came up with well-targeted policies to support the sustenance of tourism. Ours as a country is mainly developed or driven by the experiences, particularly in our culture, because we have what we believe a live, undiluted, and authentic culture, which brings people and from far and abroad to come and experience it in the country. We therefore recognize that as we live in this, we needed what we termed a recovery map. But before we could even do that, we realized that the issue of health and safety protocols and standards needed to be enshrined. So we had to rope in the Ministry of Health, which I believe all countries need to do that, to make sure that whosoever comes to that particular country can realize that it is safe. So we also had to follow through the safe travel stamps, both from WTCC and Africa Tourism Board. And these are really helping us because now we're able to assist our facilities to make sure that they conform. Therefore, this allows people from far and abroad to realize that Eswatini is there, is ready to accept them. We then had to look at the marketing strategy on how to enter this new normal. That is very, very important. And I believe that as countries, as Africans, if we ensure that we position ourselves for people to realize that we are now open, we are safe, those people will realize that they can now visit our countries. But first of all, we said, let's look at the domestic tourism. It was so great to realize that people never wandered around the country to explore the country. We came up with a slogan that said, a wonder awaits, explore it, which we launched. When we launched it, people started realizing the beauty of the country, the scenery, and even the various cultural activities that takes place within the country. So for us, we believe that as Africa, as we move forward through this new narrative, we can now share our experiences. We can now realize that as a globe, Africa itself can make sure that our countries revive its tourism sector and ensures that even those who want to come will get the best out of Africa. We have now started getting into various media platforms, social media, the radios, particularly through our regional and neighboring countries, which we believe will lead us to greater heights. The other thing that we have started realizing, which I think is also important, is the development of products. Because when we entice somebody, the diversification and the wide spectrum of products will ensure that people will come and they will stay in your country and ensure that they are able to come back over and over. I believe this pandemic has taught us that we need to look back, to do some introspection and realize that Africa can actually sustain itself with its population if there is intra-travels within Africa, because the safety standards are all being enshrined, and we can easily share our experiences for a better tourism. Once again, thank you very much, Program Director. This is really exciting, and I hope to learn more as we move on. Thank you very much.
Many, many thanks to Honorable Moses Vilakati, Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs in Eswatini since 2018 on this speech about the strategies for sustainable mining of culture and heritage in a pandemic. What we will retain from your great speech is that the wisdom of Africa will be required to brave this period of coronavirus in the midst of everything that is happening. Africa is doing well and will continue to do well, and tourism will benefit from this. We will now head over to in South Africa, Mr. Chifiwa Chivengwa, CEO of the Tourism Business Council in South Africa, for his speech on strategic and sustainable mining of culture and heritage in a pandemic as well. Mr. Chifiwa, can you hear us?
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I think we lost him. Alain St. Ange from the Seychelles sent several messages. If you can take him, he has to go to a funeral and has to leave in just a few minutes. Would that be possible to get him in? He's standing by.
Please. Yes, please. Let's get him on right now. Can you hear us, please?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much, moderator. I'm from the Seychelles, sitting on the island of La Digue, and I'm meant to address you on the synergy of tourism and agriculture for development prospects for the African economies. Now that we are in this COVID-19 dilemma, where do we move? Seychelles, as you all know, depends on tourism. We breathe tourism, we think tourism, and we have to implement tourism, which is today the biggest part of the Seychelles income is from tourism. I can tell you all, why should we today be looking at the commercial side of the world in Africa instead of just tourism? It is very, very important for us. If we want our tourism industry to bring as much success for each of our 54 states, we need to see how we bring the whole economic life of our countries together. Why should agriculture be part of it? It is definitely that self-sufficiency in us being able to grow what we have. But why should we be importing things from the rest of the world if our own countries can produce, and in so doing, ensure that the livelihood of our fellow citizens are taken care of? I want today to reinforce and re-emphasize the need for Africa to know Africa, and all of us to know our respective countries, what we produce and what we can produce, what we have and what can attract people to us. Whilst we promote tourism, it is important to promote the business sector of each and every one of us in the 54 states of Africa. We must deal amongst ourselves. In so doing, rewrite our own narrative, and in so doing, pressure ourselves to deal with ourselves, to deal with Africa. If Kenya produces flowers, should we all not look at Kenya? If another country produces cacao, another one coffee, another one milk, should we not look at ourselves? Seychelles produces fish because we are in the middle of an ocean. Should we be looking at exporting to Africa, especially to landlocked states of Africa, instead of all the way to Europe? Would we not, in so doing, bring more emphasis in this dialogue and trade amongst ourselves? Africa must learn to live within Africa and grow Africa. Growing the economies of Africa, we will be able to grow what we are as a continent, as the different states, as the economies of the different states. Our tourism industry survives on the airlines that serves the continent. But if our old airlines are not able to have enough cargo to bring amongst ourselves, we will never be able to have a viable trade amongst the African states, which will ensure that we are always dependent on further countries, faraway countries that are today using Africa, of course, because the trade is open for them. I think today, the 26th of November, is a great day for Africa. When a couple of decades ago, men landed on the moon, Armstrong said, a small step for men, a giant leap for humanity or mankind. Today, we can say that a few years ago, just 2 years ago, the African Tourism Board was conceived with the idea of uniting Africa, uniting the tourism angle of Africa. So today, the 26th of November, as we mark this as being the Tourism Day of Africa, we must be able to say a small step for us Africans, but a giant leap for Africa. Thank you very much, and a happy Tourism Day, Africa.
Merci beaucoup, Alain Saint-Onge. Thank you very much, Alain Saint-Onge. We are not going to retain you. We know that you have a lot to do, so please do continue your day, and condolences for everything that is happening at your end with the funeral. We will have indeed a great Africa Day, Tourism Day here, and we are now going to call on Mr. Chifiwa if he's around. And if not, we will go to Dr. Walter Mzambi. But let's know who is around indeed. Mr. Chifiwa Chivengwa, CEO, Tourism Business Council, South Africa. Are you around, please? It looks like we've lost.
I'm sorry to cut in. Angela,
yes,
I think we have a short showcase of Tanzania to show. There's a video that we can have right now. We can take the slot right now if our time.
Fantastic. Finally, yes. Please let's run over with this video.
Okay then. Exactly.
I guess we're seeing wonderful pictures and no sound.
Yeah, wondering why the audio is not on.
No sound here in Bangkok.
No sound in Bangkok. So why don't we put this back and I try to see why there is no sound and we play it after the next presenter. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. Let's try and see how we can fix this issue. But as you can see on your screen, Africa's leading cruise port and luxury area is in, I believe, Tanzania. Yes, Four Seasons Safari Lounge and all of that. A fantastic venue by all means. Has anyone been to Tanzania? Use the chat window, interact there, let us know what you love most about Africa, what you've seen in Africa, and also where you're from. Use the chat feature to introduce yourself and to network as much as possible. It is the Africa Tourism Day. We are also in discussion on Twitter, so the hashtag is ATD 2020. I'm your MC for the day, Angela Ikuya Santi, aka Triple A. Let's continue this program and let's have Dr. Walter Mzambi, former Minister of Tourism from Zimbabwe. Dr. Walter Mzambi, if you are around, please put your video on so we can see you. Please put your video on so we can see you. Yes, fantastic, and with a great background. Yes, you are going to talk about the border reopening, issues of safety, security, putting the zest back and fast track tourism resumption. Kindly put your audio a bit louder so we can hear you clearly and take the floor on this speech, which will be definitely interesting to hear.
Thank you, MC. I want to preamble by saying that pioneering a theme or concept is not a purpose for many. I think it's a preserve for women. That's why we are all born of women. And therefore, it is not surprising that Abigail, and of course yourself, MC, are leading this Africa Tourism Day. And I implore on participants to endorse 26th November as Africa Tourism Day. And we must proceed to domesticate World Tourism Day, which is annually held on the 27th of September, so that we can basically focus on Africa on this day. So congratulations for this indomitable, indefatigable spirit by Abigail in pioneering and conceiving this day. Having said that, looking at the topic that I've been asked to address, borders reopening, issues of safety and security, putting the zest back and fast-tracking tourism resumption, I want to caution against the word or the phrase fast-tracking because obviously it comes with consequences, and want to cancel on the word recalibration. I think if we recalibrate our re-entry back to our peak time, which was in 2019, we'll do that with less consequences and collateral damage. And it is quite clear that many countries that rushed to open borders without attendant observation and compliance with safety and security protocols are already paying the price. So I would cancel on calibration rather than fast-tracking. But as usual, our biggest challenge in Africa has always been the geographical size of our continent. A conglomerate of 55 countries, 55 destinations, always treated and consumed as one by global source markets and even ourselves. Within this geographical space of Africa, you can fit the United States of America, the entire Netherlands, you can fit Spain, Portugal, Switzerland, China, India, Italy, and in Madagascar alone, you can fit the United Kingdom, Japan, and the entire Europe. This is Africa for you. So our first challenge in addressing safety and security, coming back, whether we are fast-tracking or recalibrating, as I have cancelled, is to deal with this huge size of Africa. How do we disaggregate Africa so that it's consumed maybe by regions and also ultimately by destination as countries? There's no merit in selling a country right now in Africa in isolation to the entire African brand, because whatever happens in one part of Africa causes collateral damage, as you would inevitably know, to any other part in the rest of the continent. So our challenge is connectivity. Connectivity, whether it's air traffic, connectivity, whether it's internet, connectivity, whether it's rail or road, is the major challenge that Africa faces. And of course, to make it more appealing, I have always cancelled in these presentations on the need for a serious Brand Africa project. Unless if we begin to address what happens in our individual destinations, complying with established norms and templates on branding our destinations, starting with governance pillars. There are many things that are happening in Africa today. A conflict that erupts in one corner of the continent will inevitably cause collateral damage in a different corner of the continent. So starting with governance, how do we, as tourism ministers, when we sit around the cabinet table, as tourism authorities, when we sit in clusters, how do we impress on those that are in charge of our governance pillars to make sure that they communicate the right message, they do the right thing in our destinations, that which will add up to a more appealing African product. Going forward, of course, to the other pillars relating to trade and investment, how do we open up and make ourselves competitive and be embraced as competitive destinations in the realms of trade. Going forward to arts, culture, and heritage, and I think Minister Moses Vilakazi spoke so eloquently on the subject of culture. Everything in Africa begins with a story. When you brand that story, you then have a product. And if I can use the example of Eswatini, they have a good cultural story that they've branded into festivals. So what you consume is not necessarily stories, the end product is actually the festivals. So we have to deal with that pillar. The people, our greatest asset. Again, what do we communicate as Africans to ourselves, beginning with ourselves, a Visit Africa campaign, a Visit Country, Visit Africa campaign going forward into the future. So I struggle with the African narrative, as my colleague Alan has said, even Minister Moses Vilakazi, that we must take charge of the narrative. In resetting African tourism, what is very clear is that we have not leveraged the resilience of the continent, which has manifested itself in lesser impact in terms of deaths and case loads from the COVID-19, which is really the focal issue right now. But we have not been able to turn that story into a narrative that tells the world that Africa is actually safe for business. And we have not even gone forward within and amongst ourselves to the extent where we can motivate inter-regional or intra-Africa trade. And to do that, obviously, starts with visa openness. Unless if we're able to position ourselves correctly within the continent itself, and going forward to external markets on visa openness, we can't get in anybody into the continent. And I am not here to lecture you on things that you don't know about. The African Union Commission and the Africa Development Bank, for the 4th time running, right now have been sponsoring a visa openness report on Africa. The last edition, I think, was in 2019. And it basically speaks to whether a visa is required in an African destination, or you get a visa on arrival, or no visa at all. The question I pose to participants here, especially destinations in Africa, is how many countries in Africa are you admitting without any visas? How many countries in Africa or from Africa are you admitting with visa on arrival? How many countries in Africa do require visas? And you can answer those questions before you even start addressing the issue of the global markets. To what extent are you friendly as an African destination to African country source markets? If we practically address those issues and what inspires those visa African from our enabler ministries of home security, defense, immigration, we will be able to address the issues that are actually keeping Africa closed in the first instance to itself, and secondly, close to the globe. So we can't fast track something or recalibrate our performance to 2019 unless if we begin to address our openness as a continental destination. And the legacy of many of us here, Alan included, myself, and ministers that are current, like Ministers Moses Vilakazi, should be to what extent will we be able to look back and say we opened Africa for tourism trade? Because everything, whether you go to trade and investment, begins with tourism, begins with a visit. And unless if we inspire that visit in our legacies, we can look back proudly and say we achieved something. So I would like to close off for a limited time given to us by posing this question. To what extent are you, where you are seated right now, enabling Africa to open up to receiving visitors, starting with Africa itself, a Visit Africa campaign, and of course, going to the next stage of opening Africa to the globe. So this is what I leave you with as I pause now. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Walter Mzambi, throwing light on the issue of visa-free options, visas on arrival, being more African tourism friendly, and celebrating our festivals and all of that. We hope that you are taking notes, because these are gems that our speakers are spilling today at the Africa Tourism Day, the first ever Africa Tourism Day. The date is November 26th. And our hosts are Nigeria for this maiden edition. We are on Twitter. You can get the conversation going using the hashtag ATD2020. The chat feature is opened here on Zoom. Use it to network with people. This is a fantastic platform to do that. We now have to go over to Botswana, where we are going to take a speech from Mrs. Gillian Blackbird, the CEO of Victoria Falls Regional Association in Botswana. She will be speaking on repositioning destinations with sustainability and climate-friendly travel in perspective. We are hoping that Ms. Gillian Blackbird is with us here and now. Ms. Gillian, if you are, please put your video on and your microphone on and take the platform if you are with us. Ms. Gillian Blackbird, are you with us here and now to talk about repositioning destinations with sustainability and climate-friendly travel in perspective? It seems we are having a few challenges to have her on board, and which of course, as that's the case, we can move over to Ms. Ebikabore Semedo, FITPN, the technical advisor to the executive governor of Bayelsa State on hospitality and tourism. We are hoping that our other female speaker is around because it's so nice to have so many female speakers on the platform. So as they can be available, we can have a great gender balance in this Africa Tourism Day. Mrs. Ebikabore, are you around? Can you hear us clearly?
Yes, I can. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes, please. And it's fantastic to have a fellow woman here on the panel speaking. Thanks for being available. And please share with us your strategies to building back the hospitality sector on the African continent. Please take the microphone.
Thank you very much. And it's great having everyone here, as Nigeria being the host for this first maiden edition of the African Tourism Day. It is very obvious that we all know the troubles we've had so far with the pandemic, and it has affected the hospitality and tourism industry greatly. We have lost a lot. Drastic decisions were taken by the hospitality sector. Businesses are closed down. They had to lay off employees that are qualified and trained, and then huge revenue loss because of overhead costs, bills that still had to be running. Now, where do we go from there post-COVID? We need to build back better. We need to build the hospitality industry back. We have to bring it back to where it is. It is only someone who does not have resilience that will fail. Now, what are these strategies that we need to look at to build back better? Strategies that we need to look at: one, we have to consider a different market now. Travel restrictions are still there. You have to focus now on the local destinations, local community, which we have failed to do in the past. Changing of market segmentation from corporate business to other segments that will generate revenue. Because the whole idea, whatever can bring money is what we want to look at. You don't want to keep saying, oh, my corporate business is no more happening. Now, in the past, old ways of doing things, the hospitality sector were not partnering with travel agents. They were not partnering with online, with the tour operators. This is the time to focus on that. We have to partner, we have to promote our own local destinations. We have to bring people in, we have to encourage our own community to know the destinations we have. So the hospitality sector now, one, they have to partner with airlines, that's the local airlines for packages. They have to partner with tour operators. They have to partner with travel agents. That way they can navigate together to generate revenue. And mind you, the things we go out to look for in foreign countries are here in Africa. They are here in Nigeria. We have awesome destinations. And how do we do this again? We have to, the marketing team and then the revenue team, they have to navigate together. They have to realign. There's no more, oh, it is all about revenue without marketing. Now the ongoing thing is marketing. How do you market? You have to follow media marketing. You have to use all the social media platforms available to do your marketing strategy. We have to focus on that. And then if you don't promote yourself, you don't package yourself properly, nobody will buy your services. Nobody will come to your sector. So partner with your marketing team, have to redesign your website. You have to make sure all you are doing, the deals, the promotions are online. And then you don't have to drop all your rates, because what is happening, people say, oh, okay, there's no more business, so I crash my rates. No, offer value instead of discounts, instead of huge discounts. Drive for volume. Any room you don't sell, you can never sell it again. You can never have revenue back. So what am I saying? You have to make sure whatever I need to do to sell my rooms, to sell my spaces, you have to do that. Now the times have changed. People will no longer come as they used to come for corporate meetings or group events. Organizations also want to save money. People can do things virtually, just like we are doing. So what can you also do? There are people who still cannot have virtual meetings perfectly. So this is the time to convert some of your meeting spaces to virtual meetings. Have the best ICT infrastructures in place, so you can still market the local government agencies, local businesses, to say, okay, come and have your meetings here. I have all it takes for you to have a perfect virtual meeting. And then also, let us drive the weekend business. That weekend segmentation has been missing in some part of the hospitality. Now, target the market that will give you that business. How do you get entertainment shows to happen in your hotels? How do you do things differently? People now, and then the other aspect is to make sure your people are convinced, the customers are convinced that your place is safe and secure. So all the post-COVID things that safety precautions that need to be put in place have to be in place. And then the last one is your F&B, your food and beverage, because you cannot only say, I am selling rooms. You have to sell F&B. Now, in some hotels, your F&B is your mainstay. That is where you will now think of how to boost, revamp your F&B revenue. And there are other streams that you can make money. Consider new ways of generating revenue. We cannot say, oh, okay, people are no more coming, so what do I do? Create events, create deals. And this is where, again, the food and beverage sector department in your hotel, you need to market it properly. you need to post. If you see how everyone is selling online, and so if you don't sell online, you cannot sell. If you don't attract people, let them see what is happening in your hotel or in your small hospitality business. Showcase yourself, advertise. Gone are those days when we say, oh, in the hospitality, we don't need to do advertisement. We have to advertise. I have been in the hospitality sector for over 28 years. And with that experience, we have to come out from that old norm and say, okay, let us now focus on new and better ways of building back better in the hospitality sector. So this is the time I call on the travel agents, the tour operators in Nigeria, partner with the hotels. Let us see how we can promote our own domestic tourism. Let us see how we can promote our own domestic and local destinations and make money. We can make money. We can do things. There are mouth-watering things that we have to do. And something that the industry needs to know again, when you are looking at your revenue management strategies, don't follow the long, the yearly one. You can have your yearly forecast, but focus on short term. Do your forecasting based on short term, where you are able to place your demand, look at your market, the demand in the market, and harness with that. And basically, if we do all that in the industry, definitely we will bounce back. We'll bounce back with our local business, and then when the international business opens, then they can also come into Nigeria and see the sites that we have. So thank you very much. And we hope that we'll be seeing more Africans, more foreigners coming into Nigeria also to enjoy our own destinations here in Nigeria. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. And there has to be something with the women and, being powerful, great things, Mrs. And I'm hoping that people that are in the tour operations business listen to what you said. They have to market themselves. Just being there is not enough. You have to let people know what you will do. So again, thank you so much for these wonderful tips. And I'm sure that many people have picked them up. So we are now going to head over to Johannesburg and welcome Amanda Vinjelwa, Madam Amanda Vinjelwa, whom I hope is here with us. She's the key account manager, airlines and government agencies, airports company, South Africa. She has to deliver a note on the intra-regional tourism in Africa, issues undermining effective air connectivity, accessibility, and affordable travel. Madam Amanda, are you around, please?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. And it's just been a great pleasure. Firstly, yeah. Hi, everybody.
Fantastic.
I think it's been a great pleasure just to be on this platform and to really just gain some insights from some of the many and very leading African people, and I think leaders that are really talking tourism. And I think it really warms my heart to understand that in the tourism space, we are just as passionate as everybody else in terms of just harnessing our own skills and harnessing where we are. But let me start off by saying, in terms of air connectivity and some of the things that I think that I really wanted to look at and really wanted to talk at, I work at the Cape Town International Airport. But one thing I really realize a lot is that the airport, as well as the airlines themselves, are a real big factor when it comes to tourism and connectivity. So how do the airlines create effective air connectivity? Look, they are a source to many countries. And if you look at the amount of airlines that we have in Cape Town, specifically around Africa, we've got about 8 airlines. Now, that's not enough in terms of Cape Town, but I'm sure when we look at, you know, the entire AXA sort of boutique of airlines, we look at more airlines, you know, that are coming from Africa. But what is the main thing? And I think for me, that's been really interesting has been the fact that airlines connect us all into where we need to go. They are a powerful source to connect to different African destinations, right? They can impact the economy of every country which they connect, either at a destination level or a departure level, because you're moving with customers, you're moving with different things. However, the same airlines are based, even though they are based, you know, at different airports, and they need to move around, sometimes can be prohibited or sometimes can be affected. So, for example, aircraft utilization in Africa is constrained by infrastructure. So if you're flying to a different airport that closes at 6 p.m. Or that has got security situations that don't make it conducive to operate at night, you are effectively looking at a 12 to 14-hour window for a regional operation, which constrains the utility that you can put on an aircraft. What does that mean? It means that if I land, I cannot leave. Because I now need to stay over. Now that raises my costs because I now need to pay our parking fees, I need to stay overnight, I need to get another air crew staff, etc. Now that also just puts more information, or it puts more emphasis on the passenger to pay for that. Now we also know that if we were to look at that, and we were to say, you know what, for our African airlines, based on what it is that they need to move, we need to start as a government, as a private sector, as a regulatory bodies. We need to work together in order to be able to create a different energy that is going to help that. Because there's no point in Rwanda Air coming into Cape Town and having to stay overnight because we are closing at 6 p.m. So those are the kind of things that sometimes really are. The cost of flying, the internal continental code share scheme, which I think in a lot of platforms has been talked about. So there are certain, you know, code share schemes that certain airlines have got amongst each other. But what is so sad is that those schemes and sometimes those code shares only allow certain airlines to operate at a domestic level and not necessarily at an African sort of opening up the market level. Now that is very important because you'll find, for example, and I'll make an example, a KLM partnering up with an Ethiopian Airlines and making it possible for Ethiopian Airlines, because they've got 23 cities that they connect to in terms of domestic wise and 62 African cities that they connect to. So it makes it more possible, yes, for Ethiopian Airlines, but would that not be almost an amazing story if that same conversation were to happen amongst different African airlines to open up different spaces for themselves? For example, we've got now a situation during COVID where you've got Airlink, also SA Airlink, being open to business to United Arab Emirates Airlines. And you've got a situation where they now can go through to, on our side, they're going to now 50 destinations in Africa. But would it not be a very key thing for some of those, you know, those interlinked codes or those interline agreements or those code shares to be amongst it? But what stops it? And I think that's the most important thing. What stops those conversations? So where we are at the moment in Africa, and that's the biggest deficiency that we have, it's not just the cost. It is also a tripartite alliance that normally has to happen in order to support an airline. Remember, no airline will come to any country to support a country or start operating without government approval, without Department of Transport approval, without health approval, without an approval from DHA or customs or, you know, those kind of government agencies. Now, where it is in terms of our government, we make it very difficult for them to operate because we've got a very conversation where it's got, you know, everybody's having a different conversation with the airline. Eventually, we don't open it up. And I think Walter Mzembe spoke very nicely about what are you doing to open up and be very accessible to African countries. Now, that doesn't just speak to a passenger. That also does speak to the airline, and it also speaks across international airports. Because if I'm in South Africa and I'm in a South African airport, how accessible are you in order for me to be able to create a situation where our airline is able to connect to you? And I know, for example, that those kind of things that are needed are going to be a one-stop shop instead of going around and having to deal with different elements and taking a while to be able to build. So many airlines, and I think, and so many airports, because remember, it's not just the airline that opens up and connects, but it's also the airport. So the airport working with the city, working with the, you know, internal tourism boards, working with the city, you know, the government and the national government. And some of those regulations also stifle the airport and what they can and cannot do. So what kind of policies are we putting together in order to make sure that the travel that is connecting Africa is a little bit loosely defined, and also making sure that there are regulations in place that also doesn't place any sort of way in which a city can take control of an African market. So I'm going to talk about it in terms of making an example. So for example, if I've got Ethiopian clients, I know that Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, is a hub. It's not necessarily just the Africans that are traveling from Addis. So how do I protect the African continent versus what it is that Addis is trying to achieve by being a center and being able to bring customers to Africa as a whole and connect them to the different destinations? So how do I enable that from a South African perspective? So I think those are the kind of things that, for me, that are major, but really big things that I think for me are sort of are wide, that sort of come up, and in terms of making connectivity happen. And number one is pricing. So are airlines eloquently priced? Are they priced in a way that looks at the African market and understands that this is the ones that I want to come to different destinations in Africa? Are we pricing correctly? And I think those are the airlines conversations that we should be having. The frequency, are we able to say we are available the way in which our Africans need it? I think, if I'm not mistaken, somebody from Swatini, and I'm sorry that I'm butchering your name, mentioned something about the fact that we've got a culture, we've got a very rich and understanding of what it is that we need to do and we need to travel for. We normally see, if I'm just going to make an example, where United Emirates has got a certain time of the year where they're moving Muslim customers to go to different places because of places of worship. But at the very same time, we don't understand how it is that we need to position ourselves for our African movements and when they're supposed to happen and how we open up and we unlock them in terms of those frequencies. So airlines are not positioning themselves. Airports are also trying to find different ways of how they meet the requirements from their different countries in order to make sure that, yes, we can have large groups moving into our country, but how do we enable them? And I think the visa question is very relevant. Are we safe? You know, are we declaring safety? Are we trusted for safety? Because there's another element to be safe and to declare that we are safe, but are we trusted by the passengers to be a safe environment, whether we're an airline, whether we're an airport? And the last one is the experience. Really, the experience sort of guides confidence. It guides everything that we've got to do in order for us to move. And I really feel like at this point, we've got everything going for us as an airport, as an airline industry, and being able to connect Africa to each other, because Africa sort of trust Africa, right? But I think there we go, where we've got a situation where there's an opportunity to unlock certain potential. And branding is very important based on that. An experience of how it is that you're going to not just experience us as a country in terms of the destination where you're going to, but from a departure up until you get there. How do we connect you there in a way that the experience is what it is that you need and what it is that you love? I think where we are, we've got an opportunity, and really let's not lose it, because I think the African market is the one that's growing the most, and it will continue doing that, because we're not only connecting passengers, but we're also connecting trade. So we're looking at cargo, we're looking at how we move goods, we're looking at how we encourage trade amongst different countries, and who is where, and how we make sure that that comes together. So yeah, that's just me before I go over my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amanda Mbinjelwa from South Africa. That was some really technical knowledge there, and you made a lot of great points. One question you asked, how expensive are tickets, flight tickets in Africa? And I would be very interested for the audience to share in the chat window right now how much they feel is reasonable to afford for a flight ticket across, the continent, and in comparison with the prices that are out there. So feel free to discuss more on what Madam Amanda has shared with us, all the points that she's made. We are really interested in everyone's point of view and experiences with affordable traveling plans on the continent. So thank you again, Madam Amanda. We are going to head over now to Angola. I'm hoping that my namesake, Madam Angela Martha Diamantino, is around. And if she is, well, let me just introduce her to you very quickly. She's the CEO of CAD Investimento LDA and founder of the Angolan Women in Business and Tourism organization. Madam Angela Martha Diamantino, are you around? Madam yes. Angela Martha Diamantino, it seems like I've heard you, that you are around, and I'm really, really happy to have my namesake on this platform today. Hola, bom dia. Please take the floor.
Thank you so much. Muito bom dia para todos. I'm very happy to join this big tourism family in Africa, which really decided to take tourism in Africa to another level. We will talk about the packaging Africa's desert region from potential to products for tourism and investment. I will be focused according to my topic. I will talk about desert, to say that Africa has a very big area covered just by desert, which make us 10,855,772 square meters. It's a huge area which we can profit it properly if we have the right policies. The world just know about Sahara and Kalahari, but between inside those biggest ones, we have others, which makes in the total, we have 10 desert areas distributed by the north and the south of Africa. We can also find desert in Ethiopia. And all of them are really, really favorable for tourism. But the world know very few about that, which also Africa needs to focus on that. Really, my presentation is quite wiser, but for the 3 minutes, I will just focus on the biggest point, which is how to turn it to a real tourism product. So we have, as we see, and most of those areas, also we have another wonder that comes together, which is the sea. We have always the sea that offers a proper condition to develop tourism. But how we can do that? We know that we have resources. on that. We have human resource, and most of them are women. And as we know, African population is young, meaning that it is very important to focus on training, transfer skills, to empower these communities to develop tourism and to make the tourism profitable for themselves, for their development. Adding to that, all those areas are very rich in minerals. We have petrol, a lot of petrol in the north and as well in the south. From some scientific studies, we have discovered that Kalahari also has a huge, we can say stock or deposit of oil, offshore oil. And it's said that is the biggest in the world, which is not yet explored. Also, at the same time, if we decide to explore it now, we are killing the potential tourism that we have on that area. We are talking at Kalahari area. We need, when I say we, government and the private sector, they need to come together and to see now what to do with those desert areas, which are very rich on minerals, human resource as well, and potentially can be attractive for tourism. We just need to see what's happened at the south in Swakopmund and Walvis Bay. I can take it as a big example of what can be done in the desert areas. We have also Morocco, which is well developed on that area. Tourism Morocco is very strong as well in Senegal. So, but we have other areas which are really virgin for tourism. We have Sudan, we have Chad, which nothing for tourism is done due to challenge that those areas are still facing. Conflicts and also a lot of poverty does not help much. That's why I come and advert, suggest that is the time now, government and the private sector, to sit and think what to do on those areas to make the tourism possible. We have at the same areas many challenges of accessibility. It is important for governments to look on how to invest on accessibilities on these areas. We are talking roads, in some areas also bridge are needed, also airports. These will attract more. Also, government needs to think on how to create attractive policies for investment, for private investment on those areas. Should be great if all governments, as well even countries that do not have the desert, has to be not a worry, but a kind of a target of coming together so that we can packaging Africa as a destination, because we have a lot to offer and we can combine. It's time to think on combined packages, putting together all tourism resources that we have and develop them. That's true. Those areas also are very potential to empower Africa on the power sector. Africa face many countries, and include Angola as well. We still face problems with power. And when we don't have power, we don't have roads, tourism is challenged. And with all desert, we can solve part of the problems of power because we are rich on sun. We can think now on alternative solutions for power. That's true. The African Development Bank, since 2018, they have started to to do some projects, to work on plans, but its implementation is not yet effective. And now it is the time to think on its effectivation. We also can say that we need, countries need to also reduce the problems that we face, almost all the countries, which is corruption. Because corruption is a big challenge to develop tourism. It affects pricings, it affects investment, it affects everything. So it's a homework that all countries, all the nations, together, governments and public sector need to sit and now to see exactly which are our priorities. I come back again to talk about Namibia because Namibia is is one of the countries that leads my list when I'm promoting Africa out of Africa. Namibia has a lot to teach on how to develop deserts for tourism. In my presentation, if it was like a PowerPoint presentation, there is all those information. I can share it with my colleagues, today's colleagues here, so that we can all have a view of what I'm saying. I also know that most of people here on this conference, they know Namibia. They know what Namibia could do at Sossusvlei. They know what Namibia could change at Walvis Bay. And this is the best model that we can carry and share with all other desert areas. There is no any meaning when we see that same areas are a lot and have a lot resource, natural resource, and are those areas in Africa that are the poorest. This is a reality that we need to change. We need to change, and we need all to put hands together and focus on transform what the great things that God has given to us. And most of things, we don't get it somewhere else, only in Africa. And we need to think really to turn that reality and to make Africa the most wonders ever in the world. Thank you.
Muito obrigada, Angela Martha Diamantino, my namesake from Angola, with this great points she made, with the correlation with tourism and politics and corruption. Unfortunately, the dark side of this very beautiful sector. But yes, she was speaking on repackaging Africa's desert regions from potential to product for tourists and investors. Again, obrigada for this wonderful talk, Madam Angela Martha Diamantino. We will head over to Ghana, Nigeria's neighbors, to get Mr. Prince Ntiamwa Bwapong, representing the Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana. He is the CEO of the Chamber for Tourism Industry Ghana, CTI Ghana, and also the CEO for SNB Group, under which he operates his real estate and oil and gas brands. He will be talking on harnessing the power of the youth to leapfrog tourism. Mr. Prince Ntiamwa Bwapong, are you with us, please?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me, please?
Great. Yes, please. Thank you. Please take the floor.
Good morning to your panelists, to the convener for such a great event, the African Tourism Day. I'm honored to speak for the youth of Africa and how they can contribute to the tourism sector in Africa. When we talk about driving organizations driving countries. Countries looking ahead, they are putting a lot of emphasis on the role of the youth in contributing to national development. When it comes to tourism, same can be said for the tourism sector. In 2050, by 2050, Africa will have the biggest number of youth population over all the other continents of the world. And what are we planning towards these huge numbers of energetic young people who can contribute so much to the various sectors, including tourism? So African Union by 2063, its agenda have tourism as a tool for creating employment for this huge number of young people that we'll see in Africa by 2050. So having this at the back of our minds, then we as a continent should be leveraging on the strength, the passions, the technology drive of these young people. In 2020 alone, UNWTO projected that about 300 million young people will be traveling worldwide, putting about $320 billion in the various economies that they will visit. This to me is a big amount of expenditure that Africa should be eyeing it. Because if you look at economies around Africa, some of the economies and countries, some go to borrow as less as $1 billion, $1.5 billion, $2 billion from other IMF or other organizations around the world that give credit and facilities. So if we have $320 billion going to float in the air through tourism, how are we taking advantage of such a great opportunity that the world is going to experience? Yeah, quite unfortunately, in 2020, COVID-19 didn't allow this to materialize. I mean, it reduced the numbers so drastic, but that was the projection from UNWTO. Let me take you to a situation in Ghana and give you a scenario and how this was driven very well by young people. 8 years ago, a local district in Accra called Jamestown, they started a festival called the Chaliwati Festival. What was this festival about? It was arts and music, street arts and music, where people do paintings on the street, different kind of music, arts. People bring them on the street to come and showcase it. And believe you me, over the 8 years period which this event was inaugurated, it has attracted the biggest international media houses to this country, more than any other event. That is for the Chaliwati Festival. And this is driven mainly by young people. It was driven mainly by young people. Through social media, that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You go to the street festival, everybody is taking picture of somebody, taking picture of the various arts, posting it, and social media get busy because of Chaliwati Festival when we have it in Ghana. This can never be achieved if young people who are technology driven have not hold on to such a festival to drive it. Yes, we have other very prominent festivals in Ghana like the Panafest and all that, but it has been an old festival and the attendance is not by young people, so to say. So this is a very good case for us to look at and see the contribution that young people can give when it comes to tourism. Now, let me bring you back to another case that happened to Ghana, and it was also driven mainly by young people who were doing their Instagram, Facebooking, tweeting, and of course, doing their TikTok and all the other social media platforms. It's called the Year of Return. I mean, if you all recall, the Ghana became very popular in 2019 by the popular Year of Return, where we seem to connect the people in the diaspora with their roots here in Ghana. And it was launched in 2018 by our president in the United States. And believe you me, this whole Year of Return that put over $1 billion in the Ghanaian economy was driven mainly by young people. So as the continent is going to get more youth population in 2050, more than any other continent in the world, we can harness the potential of these young people to push up the tourism sector, to drive home a lot of domestic tourism, and to help us to be able to reap a lot out of the floating billions that tourism will float in the air. And as a chamber in Ghana, what we are also doing is that we have partnership. We're doing trainings for people in the sector, both young and old people, but our concentration has always been on the young people. Now we have teamed up with Meltwater in Ghana and GIZ in Ghana, and we're going to incubate tourism ideas for young women with Meltwater, 15 of them. We're going to look at how they can come up with ideas and how we can help these young people to push these tourism ideas to be able to go continental and global. So to us, the young people will help in the tourism in Africa if only we are able to, press for the good out of them and focus their energies and tell them that this is a sector that you can contribute, you can get employment, and you can bring more out of it if you get involved. So I would like to thank all of you and to say that the youth is the future of tourism. Let's give them all the support, and all the various organizations, including the AU, UNWTO, keep a focus on them. Thank you.
That was Mr. Prince Ntiama Boapong, CEO of the privately held Chamber for Tourism, an overview of Ghana's many youth-led initiatives in the tourism space. Mr. Boapong Medawase, thank you very much. Remember, this is the Africa Tourism Day 2020. On Twitter, you can talk about this using the hashtag ATD2020. My name is Angela Ikuya Asante, aka AAA, MC for the day and founder of Tita Productions. We have a confirmation that Dr. Taleb Rifai is here now with us. We are going to try and cross over to him. He was supposed to be our first Goodwill Messages speaker today. We are thankful that he has finally been able to join us. Dr. Taleb Rifai is the former Secretary General of the UNWTO. Can you hear us, please, Dr. Taleb Rifai?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly. I'm so sorry I missed the morning. It was a misunderstanding with regard to timing. I'm still speaking from Spain now. And the time here is different from what we have agreed on.
No problem at all. We absolutely understand this.
Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you. It's a very special day for me, truly, to see myself among very good friends, Walter Muzambi and all the rest. It's a very special day for two reasons. First, it's about tourism. Second, it's about Africa. Tourism to me is a passion. I don't know if some of you know, I came to tourism by accident. I did not plan to be in tourism. I just became a minister of tourism just like that in Jordan, in my own country. Then I fell in love with this area. It's a passion that you develop when you talk about tourism. It's very, very important to understand this, because if you don't have a passion to tourism, nothing is going to work. Tourism is the sector that brings people together, brings the world together. It's an industry of peace. It's an industry of people. Today, we have more than 1.5 billion people crossing international borders every year. That's more than 1/6 of the people of the world making an international trip every year. Today, we have so much economic benefits that come out of tourism. But the most important benefit to me is that of interaction. When you go to a place, when you visit the people, sit with them, have their dinner, eat, listen to their music, listen to their stories, listen to their dreams. You can never have negative feelings about them. You can never. I traveled the world and I tell you, I love it. Tourism is a wonderful, wonderful industry. I hope you all share that with me. But when we talk about Africa in particular, there's a very special passion here. Africa to me is very, very important. Not because only I was born in Africa. I was born in Cairo, by the way. I may not have the right color skin, as I always like to say, but I'm very African, very much so at heart. Because I tell you something, a few years ago, I saw a program on BBC called The Journey of Man. It shows how we all came out of Africa, all came out of the Bushmen, all humanity came out of there, and how they traced their journey into the rest of the world. So we developed different colors, different skins, different cultures, but we all are from Africa. Therefore, if you combine Africa to tourism, I believe that tourism can bring the world back to Africa. That's what we need to come back to our home. I feel when I visit Africa that I'm back where I was born as a human being. Africa has been divinely blessed by its people that have never harmed any other people. The world owes a lot to Africa because Africa did not get its fair share yet. But the future is Africa, without doubt. I believe in that completely in my heart. I have passion toward Africa. That's why I'm working with ATB now. It's not because of just I was offered something or just passing by. I truly believe that Africa is the future. There's a divine reason today why COVID has been spared in Africa. Keep it that way, please. Please keep it that way. Let's bring all of Africa together. I think we can do it. We can teach the world a lesson. It's our chance, it's our future. It's our time now. The time is Africa. Thank you so much, my dear friends. I enjoyed listening to each and every one of you, and I apologize for being late in these introductory remarks. Thank you so much. Bon dia.
Thank you so much, Dr. Taleb Rifai, and your apologies are more than accepted. So you don't need to apologize over again. I believe we are all happy that you were finally able to join this program. Your speech has been very emotional, and I can feel that you have a connection with the African continent.
I do, I certainly do. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Africa is the mother of all civilizations. Thank you. Very, very good day. We do hope that you can stay with us till the end of the program. We have just about an hour to go, which of course will, fantastic, which of course will include a Q&A session. If you have questions, speakers, audiences alike, you can use the chat window, the chat feature. You can drop your questions there. We will take them when the time is right. For now, we are going to go back to Nigeria. Remember, Nigeria are the host of this Africa Tourism Day 2020, the maiden edition of this very wonderful and historic day, celebrating African tourism for the first time ever in the history of the continent and actually of the world. We have the World Tourism Day from the UNWTO, which is celebrated every year on September 27th. And now November 26th is the day to celebrate African tourism. A big thanks again to the organizer, Madam Abigail Olagbaye from the ZIGO, for putting together this concept. So yes, let's go to Nigeria, where we have Lexi Mojo Eyes. Mr. Lexi, President of African Fashion Reception, are you around, please?
I'd like to also add, please, one thing, a note of thanks to Abigail. Abigail has been a wonderful lady. She's put all of this together in an incredibly efficient manner. Thank you so much, Abigail.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tad.
Wonderful. Wonderful for these very thoughtful messages. And also, I'll have to thank everyone here on board. We're hoping that Mr. Lexi is with us now. If he's not, we will try and have him a bit later on the program.
Yes, I am here. I am here. Mr. Lexi
Finally.
is here.
Yes, the President of African Fashion Reception, and you are going to talk to us about powering Africa through fashion, keeping in mind that Africa is so creative with all our fabrics. And I'm wearing African myself. I'm wearing a Lusaka jacket today from Nana Kofi Ansan from Ghana, and you are also wearing red, looking wonderful. So please take the floor and educate us on how we can power Africa through fashion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just want to thank my sister, Abigail, to have just been able to put all this together. Tourism affects all of us. I mean, the creative industry most especially. The importance of the fashion industry in the world over can never be overemphasized. This is because we all do not only wear clothes on a daily basis, we have wardrobes full of them. And also, we always update our wardrobes. This shows the economic viability of the clothing industry because everybody wears clothes, no matter what we do, no matter where we are, no matter where we go. You know, we all wear clothes. And I keep saying to a lot of people, clothing is the most important thing to man, not even food or housing. You know, because even a hungry man and a homeless man, they still go around wearing clothes. So that is why, you know, clothing is the most important thing to man. Culture and fashion are synonymous to each other. Fashion is usually influenced by culture. The way we dress can identify us to a particular ethnic cultural background. Our native country can be determined just by what we wear. For instance, an Indian, a Chinese, an American, a Maasai man or woman can be identified by their dress sense. The work of creative people like artists, musicians, filmmakers, fashion accessory, and fashion designers are in most cases inspired by values from their local environment. In the same vein, tourism is partly driven by the uniqueness of the local culture of the people. This includes the way the people dress by way of clothing and accompanying fashion accessories. The development and growth of African fashion actually started in Nigeria over 30 years ago with an event called the Nigeria Fashion Show, which is organized by Legendary Gold. This event reoriented practitioners in the Nigerian fashion ecosystem to look inward to inspiration by using local fabrics, accessories, and designs in their production line. It also reoriented Nigerians to patronize and wear locally made fashion, clothing, and accessories. You know, before the Nigeria Fashion Show event started, you hardly find Nigerians wearing locally made clothes. You know, we want to pride ourselves as, you know, shopping in Europe, in Paris, in Milan, in New York. But with the Nigeria Fashion Show, we reoriented Nigerians to look inward, to patronize the local fashion industry. You know, the development and growth of African fashion, it started 30 years ago, like I said, you know, and Nigerians started looking inward to patronizing the local industry. This move positively changed the dynamics and fortune of the Nigerian fashion industry, because today, over 90% of designers use only locally sourced materials for production of their clothes. And also today, the good news is more Nigerians wear locally made clothes. This has been and is still creating more local jobs all over Nigeria. The revolution brought about by the Nigeria Fashion Show changed the fashion landscape of the entire African continent, because other African countries got inspired by the Nigerian success story. To further consolidate these gains, Legendary Gold again in 2013 introduced an event, a continental-wide event this time, called the Africa Fashion Reception, which we organized in collaboration with UNESCO and the African Union. The Africa Fashion Reception every year have two events we organize. One is called the African Edition, hosted by the African Union in Addis Ababa every year. And the second one is called the Global Edition, hosted by UNESCO in Paris. That means twice every year we bring designers from all over the African continent. And first of all, we take them to Addis Ababa, where they showcase their talents, you know, and also promote the various African countries, you know, the dress sense of the various African countries, you know. So we take them to Addis Ababa first, then we take them to Paris. As at the last Africa Fashion Reception last year in Addis Ababa and in Paris, you know, we already started, we had 42 African countries participating, you know, and the Africa Fashion Reception, good enough, is the official African fashion event that will be showcased during the Expo Dubai 2020, you know, so which was moved from 2020 to 2021, you know. So by 2021, definitely all 55 countries are going to be showcased at the African Fashion Reception. That means the various, you know, dress cultures from all over Africa will be showcased globally. The goals of the Africa Fashion Reception is to expand the power of fashion as a tool of fighting poverty in Africa by creating wealth through empowerment of women and youths in the various fashion vocations, through training, capacity building schemes, workshops, and setting up of micro, small, medium-scale businesses, thereby supporting the African Union Agenda 2063 and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Two other goals of the Africa Fashion Reception is to build bridges by creating free trade and partnerships among fashion practitioners across Africa, working closely with the African Continental Free Trade Area. The last goal is to attract global attention to Africa's very rich and diversified dress culture, which can be explored as a catalyst for the socio-economic growth of the continent's tourism potentials. I may want to draw everybody's attention to the fact that after government all over the world, after government, the biggest employer of labor is the fashion, garment, and textile industry and all their value chains. It is important for us to understand here that the fashion and textile industry globally has contributed so much to the growth and development of the world. For instance, after the Second World War, what brought Europe back to industrialization and development, was the fashion and garment industry in Europe. This brought Europe back to industry. So you can imagine what the fashion industry is doing, globally, and for Africa in particular. If, for example, we say we really want to make a difference economically for Africa, So the big question I want to ask everybody now is, how do we all support the Africa fashion and clothing industry? I will answer that because of time. I will simply answer that, and say the easiest way for us to support it is by all of us wearing African clothes and accessories through the patronage of local designers and tailors around us. It starts from there, because most of the time, we from our continent, Africa, we want to do business in Europe and America and in Asia and all over the world. But with over 1 billion people, we can actually successfully do business ourselves, before we start thinking of going outside the continent. And we can make so much money, between us before we even leave Africa. So what I'm imploring you all to do is that while we've put designers together to do business with themselves, and while we are re-renting designers across the continent to look inward for inspiration, we are also imploring all of us to look inward and patronize. I mean, let's look at the host for tonight. Look at what she's wearing. It's looking beautiful. Look at what I'm wearing. I mean, when you go anywhere in the world and you wear African clothes, people want to look at you twice, and people wants to buy the things you are wearing, just off you. So you look more beautiful wearing African clothes. So it would be, wouldn't it be beautiful and wonderful if we all wear African clothes, made in Africa?
It's beautiful.
So today's challenge to all of you is that we should all patronize our local tailors and designers, because this will empower all the value chains of the fashion industry and create more jobs. Thanks very much, everyone.
You look spectacular.
Thank you very much. Lex. Thank you very much, Lexi Mojo, President of African Fashion Reception. I so relate to what you discussed. Fashion is a way of expressing ourselves. We love the colors here in Africa. We love the style, be it men or women. And we are always happy wearing our own. Indeed, buying more local, giving more jobs to our local tailors is the way forward. And all of that to bring more tourism. Well, the program continues now, and we have in our midst Ambassador Ikechi Uko, the convener of Aquaba Africa Travel Mart, a publisher ATQ magazine. I'm hoping that Ambassador Ikechi Uko is with us. Yes?
I'm sorry, Angela. Hello?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm
please.
sorry.
Go ahead, Madam Abigail.
I'm sorry to cut in. We have His Majesty Royal Pamford. You remember we were to have his goodwill remarks, so he's presently here. I don't know if we can take his brief remarks before we go to the next speaker. My apologies.
Great. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Let's do this. So let's have, yes. So let's do this. It seems like we are eventually going to have all of our goodwill messages, thankfully. So we have His Majesty Royal Panford available, as Madam Abigail mentioned, founder of MICE, Women in MICE, Miss MICE Discover Ghana. Can you hear us, please? Unmute yourself, put your video on, and take the floor away for your goodwill messages. Thank you. Yes, please, if you are around, His Majesty Royal Panford, if you're around, please unmute yourself. And if you're not ready to go yet, just make a sign and we will continue with our next speaker, who is supposed to be Ambassador Ikechi Uko, the convener of Akwaaba.
Hello.
All right. Yes, Royal Panford, thank you for joining in. We can't seem to see you. It seems there's a problem with your video. Please turn on your video, your sound, your audio, so we can hear you clearly.
The video is on.
It cuts a lot. No, there's a lot of cuts. Would you mind trying to get a stronger internet signal? And whilst you look at, strengthening your internet reception, we will get you back on the program. No worries about that. You will be back on the program.
Okay.
Yes. Great. So in the meantime, please turn off your video and turn off your microphone so that we don't have any feedback. And we will go back to our next speaker, Ambassador Ikechi Uko. Are you around, please?
Yeah, how are you?
We're doing awesome.
Yeah, my name is Ikechi Uko. Today, I'm not wearing my African attire, and but I'm still African. And first, I need to commend what I've seen today. I've seen my big brother, St. Ange. I've seen Zembi and my Oga, Rifai, and so many other people. So I commend Abigail on putting this stuff together. And it goes to show that what some of us started some years ago has grown into a big fire. And by 1999 to 2003, there are probably 4 or 5 of us that were promoting Africa as a project, traveling within Africa and pushing the African vision. And for most people, I was told it was never going to work. When I started Akwaaba 16 years ago as a primary travel market for Africa and Africans, everybody said it was a vision that will never come to pass. But today, everything is happening just like we envisioned it. Even the connection with the Caribbeans and the diaspora has been made. So I am happy that what we started in 1999, 98, 2001, 2003 has become a huge success. Unfortunately, one of the pioneers, Belinda from Zimbabwe, is dead. And I can't see the other pioneer from Kenya here, Waturi. But we did quite a lot to bring Africa together and to get Africans to know each other. So that is my biggest joy, seeing that today Africans relate with each other. But let me go straight to the topic about having to get the SMEs to work together to get themselves out of the COVID situation. And the SMEs are very weak, lack the capacity to save themselves by themselves. So they will need help. And any government or institution that has the capacity to provide some level of funding should go ahead and do that. That should be the first way to keep people alive. The next stage is to create synergy. See, when a little bit of, I don't want to say the Igbo word for it, but when you put together in a pot, it forms foam. So Africans need to begin to work together in small groups and create teams, and these teams can begin to make things flourish in different places. So we need teams of teams to make Africa flourish and go beyond the COVID. The small companies in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Senegal, in Kenya, on their own cannot generate the tourism traffic that we need, but we can sell to each other. I can put together a team and I can sell to Pamford Village in Disco. Pamford can put together a team and we send to Ethiopia. The most important thing is that we need to have Africans work together with each other. Our problem has been in the past that the international media had made us fear each other. And because we fear other Africans, we don't work well with them. We believe my mother's soup is the sweetest soup of them all. So we believe our country is paradise and every other person is trying to come to us. We believe in Africa that the other Africans are poorer than we are. These are all fables. All Africans are the same. And like my Oga St. Andrew always say, Africa is one. And the time we begin to work with Africa as one, we'll begin to get the kind of results that we expect. In 16 years, I have built Akwaaba from being something that was held only for people in Lagos. Now we have people from all over the world attend Akwaaba, and is the foremost African travel exhibition organized by an African business, not a government, not an international NGO, and not a global brand. But we created a Pan-African brand, and that has brought Africans together and has brought the world to engage with Africa. So we need more visions and dreams like Akwaaba. We need more events that bring Africans together so they get to know each other. They stop fearing each other. They stop having that stereotype at the back of their mind that we are better than the other person. That isn't the new Africa. The new Africa is an Africa that works together, that relates one with each other. And I'm home anywhere I'm in Africa, and they know it. If I'm in Ghana, I'm in Africa and I'm home. And the same thing that we need to be able to create for every African. You need to feel at home everywhere in Africa. Africa is one. Africa is home. Africa is the future, and Africa is now. So thank you.
Great. Great. Thank you, Mr. Ikechi Uko from Akwaaba Africa Travel Mart. Great point with, having to be united. It is not a competition to be the first. We can all win together, of course, provided we don't try to be opportunistic and, use people to achieve to our ends. So we're hoping that our audiences are taking a cue from what you said, and that people are also, practicing the advice of being united and not trying to have any kind of hidden agenda to use people to advance. Anyways, we are now going to move on to Mrs. Edna Layatu Hogan in about a short moment. But first, we want to go back to His Majesty Royal Panford to see if he has been able to rectify his video and audio issues. His Majesty Royal Panford, please turn on your video and turn on your microphone. Let's see if you've been able to rectify this before we move on to our next speaker, please. His Majesty Royal Panford, I can see that you are in our midst, but your microphone is off and your video is also turned off. Are you able to rectify this? If not, but if you can still hear me, quick suggestion to probably log out of the meeting and then log back in. It should be enough to rectify the issue. In the meantime, let's go to Tanzania. Miss Edna Layatu Hogan, founder and CEO of the Tanzania Chamber of Commerce Island Europe, who has to talk on the fast-tracking enterprise investments and tours between Africa and the diaspora, It's really, really great to have a lot of female speakers on the panel at the Africa Tourism Day virtual conference. Madam Edna Layatu Hogan, if you are in our midst, please make a sign, turn on your video, turn on your microphone, and please take the floor.
Hi, Angela, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Fantastic, loud and clear, we can see you, and we are charmed by your charm and smile. Please take the floor.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Angela, and thank you, Abigail, for putting this together. What a fantastic section. Greetings from Dublin, Republic of Ireland. We are in lockdown here, level 5, and it's very cold as well. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. My name is Mrs. Edna Layatu Hogan. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Tanzania Chamber of Commerce in Europe. I know it's called Tanzania, but we work with businesses across Africa and charities as well. And of course, our partners in Europe and America, and very soon it will be Asia. We'll have an office in Asia. Yes, so my topic is driving enterprise investment and tours between Africa and African diaspora. At the Chamber, what we do is to drive investment in Africa. We work with African governments and private sector as well. And also we promote tourism. In terms of investment, we try to engage with African diaspora whenever we can. If we have project that is actually they're interested in, we invite them to work with us. For example, at the moment, we have a number of projects at the Chamber, and one of them is the CPS project in Zanzibar, where we have partnered with a German company to construct amazing apartments and villas. And they are really there to give an opportunity for African diaspora who want to relocate back to Africa, or they want to invest in the property sector. So these properties, they start from $22,900 only. And because the price is very affordable, and this is due thanks to the Zanzibar government that is very supportive of this project. So we encourage, and this project, anyone of any nationality can buy and own these properties. Why Zanzibar? Zanzibar, because Zanzibar, everyone knows, is a known worldwide for being a tourist destination. And also, Zanzibar government offer residence permit for retirees. So if you're about to retire and you want to relocate to enjoy the 3S, sun, sea, and sand, you really need to think about this carefully, because number one, the properties are very affordable, and number two, you can actually give in residence permits. And also, there's another way of getting a residence permit as well. If you invest $300,000 or more, but this actually talks on the way to lower this amount. Zanzibar, you get the value for your money, because many tourists like to go to Zanzibar, and that means you're guaranteed to have people to rent your place, or maybe if you want just to use it as a holiday place. So we try to engage with African diaspora, but also other nationalities to drive investment to Africa. So we work with a number of African countries, as I say. In terms of the current, pandemic, we came up with ideas of how we can actually support African tour companies, businesses and different sectors, and how they can grow. At the moment, for example, we have for all our chamber members, we do door-to-door marketing for them. So for example, if you're a member, we can actually promote your brand. We can make your brand known internationally. We can also help you to establish an office here if you want to expand internationally. So this is what we try to do during the pandemic. And also we have, we are, like, Africa is open for business. So we still do send business people to visit Africa for investment opportunities. And we encourage them to actually take up holidays when they're there. So we still manage to bring tourists to Africa. And also, not only that, we are in total lockdown. So there's something called lockdown holiday takers. And most we target the young professionals who, although they are working remotely from home, they can take up a holiday. They can go to Tanzania, they can go to Ghana, to Ethiopia, anywhere. We encourage them to do that. So we do have, so if you become a member, we can actually promote your packages. We can actually encourage them to come and visit your country and holiday. That means you can still get an income, given despite the current difficult situation. So we are trying to do our part. There's also free social media we do offer sometimes, and also there's traditional interviews we do. So All this is to try to make sure that we engage with diaspora, but also we try to drive tourism, bring investment at the same time to keep the economy going. So we do also, before COVID-19, of course, we were doing the international study tours. We also do funding. We help startups in Africa to get funding, and also we to form meaningful partnerships. We have so many companies in developed world, they have money, but they're looking for projects to invest in Africa. So it is our job to make sure we match the two. And that's why hence we're the channel that connects Africa and the rest of the world. So today, really, I would like to encourage you all to actually become a member of our award-winning International Chamber of Commerce, if I may say so, actually, very proud. And also to become a member and we can work together. And also not only that, we are part of the European Federation of Chamber of Commerce. So we have a huge network, business network, that can be of advantage to the tourism sector, because these are the very same people who would like to take on holidays. They could be high-end, high-end tourists, or could be mid-income earners. But at the end of the day, they are the ones who actually encourage them to travel to Africa. So really, that's all I have to say. But again, if you want to learn more about our work and what we do and how we can partner with your company or your charity, please check the contact details that will be shared in the chat there. And I'll be here to take any questions you may have. Thank you so much again for having me. And thank you, Abigail. Thank you, Angela, and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Edna Layatu Hogan of the Tanzanian Chamber of Commerce, Ireland, Europe. You are the founder and the CEO. Thank you for showcasing what you do. I encourage people to use the chat feature to network, because this Africa Tourism Day is a historic day, and it could be the day where you will be doing your next big move. It's up to you to use this platform to market yourself and to meet new people. So please do that. If you are on Twitter, the hashtag is ATD2020. Use the hashtag, talk about the event, share pictures, screenshots, videos as you want. This event is also being streamed on Facebook. You can go there and watch it live. My name is Angela Santi, aka Triple A, your MC and moderator for the day. And we are not done yet, but very, very soon we will be done with this. We have less than an hour to go, so please do stay with us. You will have the opportunity to ask questions in our Q&A, and the speakers who are still here with us, available with us, will answer them. Now, let's try and go one last time to His Majesty Royal Panford. Have you please rectify your video and audio issues? If you have, please unmute yourself, put your video on, and share your goodwill message. I'm going to give you a few seconds to do that. And if we don't hear from you, we will have to go to our next speaker, who is Dr. Fredson Bakar, and he will be speaking on surviving a pandemic and taking the necessary actions to rebuilding destinations and restoring tourist confidence in a crisis. So whilst His Majesty Royal Panford is trying to connect with us, let me remind you that our next speaker will be Dr. Fredson Bakar. Dr. Fredson, if you are with us, please get your finger on the pulse so that if His Majesty Royal Panford cannot join us, you will take the floor immediately after that. Remember that we are streaming this on Facebook, that also if you want to know more about the speakers' presentations, some of those presentations are available on africatourismday.org. So just go over there to read more about what they've written, and you can also read more about their biographies. And of course, this is the fantastic opportunity for you to network with these illustrious personalities whom we are absolutely proud to have in our midst today for this maiden edition of the Africa Tourism Day, hosted in Nigeria, but it's a virtual conference, but still our hosts are Nigeria. We also actually have wonderful videos to show you about, the countries, Tanzania, Mozambique, Zanzibar, and even though we have technical issues, you should be able to watch these videos later on the Facebook page of Africa Tourism Day. Follow Africa Tourism Day on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, to enjoy those and see more about what Africa has to offer. Let's now head over to Dr. Freton Bakar. Please unmute yourself and show your video to take the microphone and give your talk on surviving the pandemic and taking the necessary actions to rebuilding these nations and restoring tourist confidence in a crisis. Dr. Freton Bakar, can you hear me?
Thank you. Good morning and good afternoon all. Bom dia e boa tarde a todos, painelistas e oradores. Thank you very much to invite me to participate in this meeting. I think so it's very, very important for us with Africans to discuss the solutions about our continent and about our tourism. In accordingly of my themes, surviving pandemic, necessary actions to rebuilding destinations and restoring tourism confidence in the crisis. And I want to tell some things. First, it is vital to recognize that although coronavirus did not change everything in the world, it has changed the most of way we behave in our lives, including the tourism industry. To survive the pandemic, any destinations and service provider will have to consider, among many others, the following: identify accurately and currently the role to be played by public sector, business operator, and the local communities. To be informed on how the tourist will behave, to be aware about the main elements to take into account when it comes to choose places and facilities to visit and enjoy. As many experts have announced, we need a politicians, entrepreneurs, workers, and related tourism industries players to be ready to deal with the new era, being innovative and putting in place creative solutions to satisfy the consumers and expectations. Yes, the pandemic is a challenging era, but it is also a huge opportunity for those willing to make a difference. To be ready and make a difference may mean to act considering the following scenario and the data. After pandemic, the tourist will be more conscious and responsible on spending and more connected to the internet or digital technology when it comes to booking and paying services. As today, we are scared and try to avoid crowded places, it might be possible that after the pandemic, people will be seeking for less consolidated destinations, less discovery. These represent a huge opportunity for new and less established destinations like Mozambique. There is a forecast that customers will value by most the business and brand with strong compromise on local community and environmental issues, and the value for money products and services. This will lead to head prices competitions among players. We do also believe that people will tend to travel at first stage within the region or within the country, meaning that they will value local production, food, and craft, etc. May mainly those coming for small companies. So the business might be ready to respond that trend. And we hope that everyone in Mozambique will follow that step. Mozambique has a destinations and service provider need to be ready for more competitive online marketing and sales. As we said here, that to be digital become a must for all of us. Government institutions responsible for enhancing tourism activities, package operators, hotels, airline carriers, and tour guides. Just to mention some. The pandemic is still an ongoing process. However, it has showing that flexibility on booking and canceling, the hygienic safety and security will play a key role in attracting travelers in tourism. We do hope that Mozambique, even Africa, business community is following closely, that the trends and behaviors for the customers. For instance, it is said that guests will prefer to eat in hotel rooms. Guests will be looking for open space and nation-based activities. Guests will tend to book last minute and combine leisure and work during holiday periods. Working and activities will tend to be taken in small groups. The segments with high demands according NWTO will be rural tourism, nature tourism, well-being, tourism, adventure, and gastronomy. The numbers show that Mozambique is among the very less affected by coronavirus pandemic. However, the country's performances will be depends also on what is happening in the South markets. There is no how to perform so well when the South market is experiencing difficulties in sending travelers and tourists. More than ever, the tourism industry worldwide needs to be together and act collectively. Finally, to succeed in this journey will be necessary consistency, persistence from all the players. Good luck for us, brothers and sisters. Together we are stronger. Thank you. Let me show a small presentation, and I want to partner some things. Let me show.
Okay, you have 1.5 minutes to do that, please.
Let me show it.
Maximum. We're hoping you will be able to show your screen. You can do that by clicking on share screen. Yes, should work.
Okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
No, we're not able to see anything.
No.
At our end. Nope.
Nope. Let me. Oh, where is it?
Okay.
It's
so,
okay?
But no worries. No, we're not able to see it, but not to worry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you try it again now? I just turned it on.
Can be uploaded.
Turned off.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it seems like we are
again.
seeing something. Yeah. Yeah, correct. Now we can see it. Tanzania country categories winners.
Okay. Okay, let me.
Okay, one last time and then we will have to move on because time is running out. Okay. But not to worry, Dr. Fredson Bakar.
Oh, okay.
It seems like it's starting. All right, now we can see it.
Okay.
But you have a maximum of 2 minutes for this presentation, please.
Okay, thank you. Let me, the strategy. Okay, the government strategy for the resumption of tourism sector, the new normal COVID. The government, they approve, and that 8th section of the Council of the Minister, the protocols of prevention and control COVID. The government, this is a mechanism that adopted that of government of Mozambique to certify, to confirm that entities and service in the culture and tourism sector, as well as those directions and directly or indirectly involved in tourism area, strictly comply with the IF protocol validated by the Minister of Health. The government now is to work to introduce the electronic visa for international tourism. The objective of this is improve access to Mozambique destinations, increase tourism flow and attract investors, and improving promotions and interest in the destination of Mozambique. Also, we are working to promote the domestic tourism, and Mozambique is now relatively more expensive destination compared to other destinations in the regions. And now we are working with private sector and public sector to solve it. This is some campaign about the domestic tourism that we do now. We are waiting the visitors. Promotion essence for the international market. We are participating in Spain in meeting Africa in RSA, the virtual phase. In October, we are participating in the ABEF, is Brazil, and Sangana, Zimbabwe. We are participating in some exhibitions, participating in Spotlight Maputo. And okay, my time is over. I send all presentations for you, and please don't hesitate to send the inputs to promote our destination. Thank you, Abigail.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Fredson Bakar. Before we move on to our next speaker, I have to share this poll alert. You can go on africatourismday.org. The link is shared in the chat window. Look for it right now. I'm going to share it again right now. So go on the chat, everyone, go on the chat and then choose Africa's most exciting and fascinating destination. You can vote. The link is in the chat window. Even for people who are following us on Facebook and who are not joining on Zoom, you can just go over to africatourismday.org. There is a poll. Vote now for the next 10 minutes, and then we will announce the winner, the winning country. Where would we want to have the next edition of this Africa Tourism Day to happen? Today's virtual conference is actually hosted by Nigeria, and so who knows where the next destination will be. Now let's go to Tanzania again, where His Excellency Dr. Benson Bana, the High Commissioner at the High Commission of the United Republic of Tanzania, will deliver a speech on optimizing cultural diplomacy as a catalyst to accelerate tourism recovery for African national governments. His Excellency Dr. Benson Bana, are you around, please?
I am around, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much. We're so glad to have you in our midst. and to hear your thoughts on how we can optimize cultural diplomacy as a catalyst to accelerate tourism recovery for African national governments. Please take the microphone. You have 3 minutes to talk, 5 minutes maximum. Let's take it away.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator Angela, for your able leadership in this forum. And I must also record my appreciation to Cuthbert Nkube, Chairman of the African Tourism Board, and Abigail Olagbaye, CEO of Seagood Tourism and the former Miss Tourism Nigeria. She has been a source of my inspirational, and she has been an able leader, and I respect her very much for her enthusiasm and passion when it comes to promoting African tourism. Thank you, Abigail. I must also extend my sincere thanks to previous speakers for their informative and inspirational remarks. I see a sense of Pan-Africanism in all the speakers that have spoken before me. I was invited to speak about optimizing cultural diplomacy as a catalyst to accelerate tourism for national governments. I am from an academic background, so I must first and foremost record the regret of my president, His Excellency Dr. John Pombe Joseph Magufuli. Abigail had invited him to deliver a keynote speech on this occasion, but unfortunately, due to pressing, urgent, and very important matters, he did not find time in his itinerary to be with us today. So my apology on behalf of His Excellency, my president. Number 4, I must start my presentation by defining what I understand by cultural diplomacy. To me, cultural diplomacy would denote a public diplomacy and the soft power in the realm of international relations, which includes the exchange of ideas, information, art, language, values, customs, and attitudes among nations and the different actors in the international space or international arena. So cultural diplomacy to us is a very important tool for advancing national interest, whatever definition you attach to the concept of national interest. So cultural diplomacy is one of the most essential tools for influencing and promoting the nation's interest beyond its borders. Thirdly, cultural diplomacy to me is a mechanism through which African governments or African countries and governments could help different actors reconstruct the richness of African countries' history. For a long time, the history of African countries has been misconstrued. You have Lake Victoria, but you didn't know it until you will speak from Europe, discovered it for you. You had River Nile. You wouldn't speak of it until when a European saw it first for you, but forgetting that we had Africans living in the localities. They used the Nile, they used Lake Victoria, they used the other resources that are found in Africa. But unfortunately, we are made to think that these resources did not and do not belong to Africans, or they were not aware of them until the advent of the West explorer, as you can, names of speak, and the like. So we need to use cultural diplomacy to reconstruct Africa, to change the African narratives, the other they have already said. So that is one of the essential tools that we can use to promote cultural diplomacy and, of course, accelerate tourism in Africa. We must use cultural diplomacy to change the African narrative, to have it in its proper sense, to change what others think of Africa, and that is critical. We have the cultural readiness in Africa. the architectural sites, the local arts and heritage, handicrafts, rich values, norms, customs, and the attitudes, culinary activities, traditional dances and games, local cuisine, and what have you. These are rich cultural aspects that we can bank upon to promote tourism in Africa, especially during the advent of COVID-19. Again, cultural diplomacy has got to do with the language. We all embrace the languages of our former colonial masters who divided Africa into different portions. You have Anglophone Africa, you have Francophone Africa, Lusophone Africa, Maghreb Africa, Arabic Africa. We need to reconstruct the facts and make the world understand that the origin of African civilization is not Europe. It's neither Asia nor America. It's Africa. So this has got to be reconstructed, but you cannot reconstruct this if we continue to embrace the languages of the metropole. We need to promote Kiswahili, which is at the moment spoken by more than 500 million people on the African continent. That is the drive that will help us promote cultural diplomacy as well as grow and accelerate tourism in Africa. Kiswahili is our lingua franca. It's now an accepted language in SADC countries, acceptable language in the AU if we press harder, and I believe it can be the language of the United Nations if we press harder. Culture without a language, we are just, we are just speaking in a vacuum. We need to have a language, a lingua franca of Africa continent, and I believe Kiswahili is the best language to that end. Again, we need to use cultural diplomacy to attract researchers, to attract practitioners and scholars from all over the world to reconstruct the African reality. Africa, as others have said, is a chief source of the world civilization. We are told that the first human species, Zinjanthropus, was found in Tanzania. Let's reconstruct the story. We have read several books, how Europe underdeveloped Africa. At one point, Africa had developed industrialization. In different, you go to Senegal, you go into Timbuktu, you go to Mali, there are African riches, which shows that the origin of African civilization and the industrialization is Africa. But unfortunately, these stories are not taught, nobody knows them. So if we promote cultural diplomacy, we will encourage researchers, scholars, academicians all over the world to really understand the historical facts behind the African continent. We have religious sites on African continent. If you visit the Namgongo shrines in Kampala, the Uganda Matters for those who believe in Christianity like me. Okay? And there are good stories to tell about Africa, about the Uganda Matters themselves. Saint Kizito, Saint Kagwa, Saint Karoli Wanga, and the like. And I'm proud of Ambassador Amina Salumhali, who have spoken about Zanzibar. You look at Zanzibar, you want to explore why slave trade, the impact, the adverse effects of slave trade in Africa. Africa, the story town of Zanzibar can tell it all. It has all the riches of the processes, the predicaments we went through as Africans. So the stories can be told by really promoting cultural diplomacy in terms of the values, the historical sites, the archaeological riches that we have in Africa. And of course, the traditional attire and the dressing code. My friend who spoke before me, I think from Ghana, had already alluded to that. But why can't you go and explore the Maasai Boma in Kenya, in Tanzania? See the richness of the Maasai culture, how they behave, their gendered interpretation, their division of responsibilities, how they hold their cultural rituals. Those are riches of Africa that can be promoted via cultural diplomacy. And thirdly, we have the governance systems that we are disrupted by colonialism. You go to Uganda, you look at the Lukiko system, the traditional democratic institutions that were in place before the advent of colonial rule, but nobody talks about traditional African governance institutions. You come over to Nigeria, where I am, you look how Nigerians have been able to preserve their traditional institutions and make them operate alongside the modern institutions of governance. That is the reach of Africa. When I'm in Nigeria, I admire the Oba, the Esama, the chief, the emir, the way this country has been able to preserve and protect the traditional institutions and make them operate alongside modern institutions of governance. The Europeans have a lot to learn from the African traditional systems of governance. And you go to Mali before the advent of militants. And you go to Egypt, look at the pharaohs, look at the pyramids, the way they define and enrich the African heritage and the cultural advantages that Africa has. And finally, Madam Chair, there are challenges that I think we must address as Africans. And on this regard, I support all my colleagues who have spoken on the need to promote the newly created African continental free trade area in terms of promoting intra-African relationship, specifically through trade and tourism being part of that. So I urge all participants in this forum to become African cultural diplomats in terms of promoting, defending, and spreading the African cultural norms, practices in the context of tourism and leisure industry. Again, I urge you to think of ways and strategies of promoting Kiswahili language so that it becomes one of the major languages that are spoken all over the world. We must strategize to promote Kiswahili, to encourage Europeans, Asians, Japanese from left, right, and center to embrace Kiswahili as the lingua franca of Africa. A country or a continent without a language, you cannot claim to be promoting cultural diplomacy and the riches that go with the traditional culture of Africa. Number three, let us think collectively about the effective ways and means through which African government could use cultural diplomacy as a strategy to also promote economic diplomacy. Tourism in its own sense, in modern day diplomacy, we never talk, we are not talking of dollar diplomacy, gunboat diplomacy, bygone are those days. Most jurisdictions today are talking about economic diplomacy. We should endeavor to promote cultural diplomacy as an aspect of economic diplomacy, which all countries in Africa are striving to pursue. And lastly, no, not lastly, one at the moment, we must strengthen the public-private partnership in promoting cultural diplomacy. Every country within its means to strive to encourage more public-private partnership in promoting cultural diplomacy in the realm of cultural tourism. And lastly, we have had this meeting. The Zoom meeting, the virtual meeting is a new innovation. It is coming at the time when we have the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. Now, after this meeting, what next? Are we becoming a talking shop? What strategies can help us drive the African Tourism Day agenda forward? Are we saying this will become an end in itself, a talking shop, or an end in itself. My view is that this forum, much as I have appreciated the initiators, should not be an end in itself, but it should be a means to an end. A more integrated Africa, a more forum of exchanging ideas, but practical ideas. We have talked the talk, we need now to walk the talk, and I think under the able leadership of Abigail and her colleagues, we can be able to move forward to achieve tangible results from this forum. Otherwise, I thank you very much for your audience. I thank the organizers, and this is what would bring AFCON together. I believe divided we fall, united we win. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Benson Alfred Banana, for this very passionate speech. To all the people listening, if after this speech you don't go out there, to really promote your own language and your own culture, then I think you really miss the point of what he was communicating with so much passion. We have 3 more speakers to pick up. 2 of them are women. One of them is a man, obviously. And unfortunately, time is running out, so it has to be very short. Please, the next 3 speakers, please stick to your 3 minutes allocated for your speech. We want to take Mrs. Zainab Ansel from Tanzania. Madam Zainab Ansel is the owner and director of Zara Tours, which is Tanzania's #1 Kilimanjaro trekking company and one of the largest safari operators in the region. She is going to talk about the principles of building a strong tourism legacy for prosperity, for posterity. Madam Zainab, if you are with us, please put your video on, unmute yourself and take the floor. And before you just jump in, let me just say that there will be a Q&A session. It will have to be short. It won't be 30 minutes because we're really running out of time. I've seen that one of our audience members, Mr. Lucky George, has raised his hands, but the time is not right now to take up a Q&A. So yes, Madam Zainab, we can see you, we can also hear you. Please take the floor. 3 minutes maximum. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Zainab Ansel. I'm from Tanzania, Zara Tours. I've been in this business for 33 years. I've been sending people on Kilimanjaro and safaris, and we have properties for the national park. And it's been really a lot of challenge when I started and everything, but my whole passion was that we have won an award for sending people on Kilimanjaro throughout the world. And on top of that, we've been doing Zara Charity, which we've been helping the community, for the Maasai community in Ngorongoro. And we have around 95 children. We send them every year to the primary school. And we have a pro to do, they are doing beads and stuff, and we buy and they sell it to our hotel. So, and we have mountain guides and mountain porters. We have around 500 of them, which we have arranged for them, all of them bank accounts and insurances. And what we do every year, we do a course for them for money management and about sustainable tourism. And we do a village as well every year to go to the sea to help people to clean the sea. This has been a really good achievement on our side, and we've been helping the community, and we've been trying to employ women on our projects. And what we've been doing is as well to make sure that women go on the mountain as well to help for their families as well. And in our hotels, we've been doing some training for women to come and do the jobs for the tourism. So it has been really good. And for the COVID, it's been a big learning experience on my side to try to work it out. What's the plan? What can we do? And so on. So we've been planning for local tourism. We've been promoting all Tanzanians to go on safari. And this has been really good. So this Christmas, we have a lot of people Tanzania going to safari. So it helps us with the community. That's what we've been doing. And another thing what we've been doing as well is to be able, for now, for the guides and porters, which they don't have any job for some time, what we've been doing is try to teach them to do other things. So we bought up a farm. So all the guides and porters are going there to be able to get something while we are waiting for tourism to start. Hey, Maria.
Thank you very much, Madam Zainab. Thank you so much. And such a busy woman that you are. Thank you still for being able to join us today. And thank you for keeping it short. Wishing you a wonderful day and fruitful business. Thanks again. We're now going to try and connect with our last by one speaker of the day, Honorable Hisham Zazu, former Minister of Tourism, Egypt, who will be speaking on redefining public-private partnerships for sustainable tourism development and examining its role in increasing overall tourism contribution to the GDP of African economies. Honorable Hisham Zazu, are you in our midst?
Yes, madam. Thank you very much for getting me on that platform. I'm saying hello to everybody, and it's an honor to be with you today on this historic event of Africa Day, Africa Tourism Day, on the 26th of November. Thank you for having me. Well, I know that everybody's by now quite tired from quite a long session from morning. I'll keep it concise, less than 3 minutes. Well, speaking about public-private partnership, as we all know, it's an economic tool that has been used in many facets of the economy in many countries. Egypt is one of these countries that had a lot of good success stories of public-private partnership. However, the classic or academic approach to that issue has been, everybody, most of the audience, I believe, know about it. What I want to say is the other aspects of that, redefining that public-private partnership. For instance, I would like to speak about the physical with a PH and the physical with an F. So from the PH side, the physical aspect, the asset sharing by a government with the private sector could be a good introduction to some of the successful projects by giving, for instance, land as the share of the government in an SPV, or even giving it with a very nominal fee to the private sector in that respect. Egypt, until very recently, 25 years ago, the government did not use that tool, but when it used it in the Red Sea area in Egypt, we have created new destinations and became the prime destination from the European traveler to Egypt in that respect. That's an example. The fiscal with an F, which is a financial tool, tax facilitation for specific areas in a country, in a destination, can help grow that destination and accordingly create value for the whole GDP in that respect from a tourism perspective. Financially, credit facilitation for tourism projects, particularly for SMEs in various areas of the country or a destination, could be very favorable in that respect. Egypt had quite a high interest rates until very recent, but it gave for the SMEs in the tourism sector facilities at a low bank interest rates. Concessions is also another aspect of redefining partnerships, like airport concessions. Some of the airports in various countries are not fully utilized, so the government can also enter into giving concessions in these airports, and we have a good example also by the Red Sea down south in Egypt that has proven very successful in that respect. All these are aspects for redefining the public-private partnership in an economy that has a very good impact on the GDP in that respect in the economy. However, speaking about Africa, our beautiful continent, and about the 54 countries and its attractions, from Cairo to Cape Town, from Cape Verde and West Africa and Marrakesh, all the way to East Africa, to Ethiopia, to Kenya, I don't want to miss any of our brotherly countries in our beautiful continent, but the issue of partnering, the triple P, the public-private partnership in marketing our destination, Africa, is very important in that respect. I think we could come with some specific recommendation in that respect by having a special committee out of the African Tourism Board, or out of this specific platform today, celebrating Africa Tourism Day, by having a representative from all these countries and coming with a solid approach to marketing our continent from all aspects, from the attractions to the investments, to other areas in that respect. So the public-private partnership form, from an academic perspective, could be redefined in marketing Africa in that respect. So I don't want to take much of the time. I hope I'm under the 3 minutes, Madam Amanda, and I look forward to answer any questions in that respect. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Honorable Hisham Zazu, former Minister of Tourism in Egypt, thank you for keeping it short and concise. And thank you also for staying with us for the Q&A session, which is coming up very, very shortly. But before that, let's end this program with Chief Mrs. Nike Davis Okundaye, founder and CEO of Nike Art Gallery, nicknamed Mama Nike. I'm hoping that she's around to close this really, really interesting, passionate session of speeches, where we've had 21 speakers. So she's our last speaker of the day, and she will be talking on empowering women in rural areas to lead change and economic transformation through creative art in Africa's tourism economy. Mama Nike, are you around? Is Mama Nike around? I'm hoping she can hear us. It seems like some people are now joining us, but the program is ending. But well, this is the Q&A session coming up right about now. But before that, if Chief Mrs. Nike Davis Okundaye cannot hear us, and if she cannot join us, that will be, well, a little bit disappointing because of all the knowledge she has in the art field. But let's try and see if, for a final time, His Majesty Ryan Panford can hear us for his goodwill message. One last time, His Majesty Ryan Panford, are you around? It seems like we've definitely lost him. But this is the good news. Madam Nike Okundaye is around. So here's what you have to do, please. Unmute yourself. Oh, wonderful, wonderful hat. This is fantastic. You are the perfect person to talk about empowering women in rural areas to lead change and economic transformation through creative art in Africa's tourism economy. Please take the microphone and indicate us on this topic.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Ambassador Abigail for giving me the opportunity to talk about women empowerment, especially in the rural area. I thank you for every opportunity given to us. So what I always do, I learned from my great-grandmother, who also empowered the women in the village. My great-grandmother is the head of all the women in the village. She's called Iyalo Day. And then every 5 days, people come to her place to talk about their work, about their weaving. And in those days, you know, women is not really allowed to do what men are doing. And coming in from my own angle, so we have to make sure that what a man can do, a woman can do better. And that is how I started the empowerment, going to US, see what they are doing there. And I was just, that is my first breakthrough. Getting to America, seeing what they are doing in US, and see how a man can weave women's loom. A woman can weave men's loom. I said, let me take this back home. So the taboo of doing all this give us opportunity to be free and self-independent. Because when a man puts 1 naira down, a woman has to put 50 down. So when I come back from US, my colleagues, which are my co-wives, I said, let me teach you this women and the adire. So I started from them. We are 15 wives, married to 1 man. I started from them. After that, I now see that it's working out. So we are all now independent through our own handwork. Then I said, okay, let me pick some ladies on the street who are selling kola nut and bitter nut. So that is how I was now teaching them. So it now become a success story. And being a success story, some of these ladies, when they go overseas, they work, they come back, they use the money to look after their children. They also use the money to help the community, because my own training is training the trainers. When you train one, you will ask her to go train other people. And that is what I was doing. So this, my teaching, I started in 1982, but my first teaching to my co-wife is 1974, where we are all living like sisters. But deep in our heart, we are not independent. But this work has carried us to a greater point. All of us now, we are able to train our children through university. So our children finish university through our own handwork. And then in my village now, we have about 250 women. Then the same work takes me to Italy, where I have to train 5,000 Nigerian women to use their hand to do the design of our fabric. They are now selling it to Manchester, to Hollandis, and they are turning it to Ankara. So it's from the textile. And not only that, we are now turning it to handbags that people can use. We turn it to jewelries that people can use. We turn it to textile that they can put on the runway. So all this work now become something that everybody can now use to empower themselves. I have to thank all of you. If there is any question you want to ask me, I will be here, because I know I only have 3 minutes. And the issue concerning women and economy is always like to do on our woman leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mama Nike, Chief Okundaye, for this, sharing this. And you've been through a lot, and you have so much experience to share with all of us. So it was really a pleasure to have you here today, and seeing you with, you know, really promoting African wear with this wonderful heart and this top. This is absolutely wonderful. Thank you again. Thank you so much. And so we are just about to wrap up this program. We will take one more speech from Captain Emmanuel. Captain Emmanuel, if you are available, please.
How do we, you know, kind of cultivate some of the other activities that activities we can be.
I'm sorry, the sound is very, very bad. The sound is very, very poor.
So that's what we have to be looking at. So if you can have a business maker,
hello,
we can showcase some of the.
Can you please mute?
Yeah.
There's somebody who is
Good afternoon,
talking.
everyone.
Yes. I'm going to ask the.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Captain Emmanuel, but there's a lot of feedback from. Okay, Captain
Hello,
Emmanuel,
can you
yes,
hear me?
we can hear you.
Okay,
Yes, we can.
good morning, everyone, and happy African Tourism Day. Thank you so much, Abigail, Ambassador Abigail, for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, MC, for a wonderful job you've done so far. Fantastic speech from everyone so far. All the speakers have been fantastic. I'm so happy to see everyone across Africa on this platform. Miriam Adams, thank you much. I'm so happy to see you again here. Captain Emmanuel is my name. I'm actually the CEO at TBS Africa. And what we are doing is making sure that we ensure Africans visit Africa in an eco-friendly way. So we actually promote eco tours, and we are so happy, so glad to celebrate Africa Tourism Day today with African Tourism Board. So I just want to say, using this opportunity again, that we should dedicate this day to actually look for more ways of having a more connected Africa. I can see comments in the chat room talking about how you can take Ethiopian Airlines and connect with about 3 African countries on one ticket. That's a fantastic one. But I think Africa Tourism Board should also help us to discover more ways of how we can actually achieve the single African air travel market setting. As an aviation professional, a pilot and an aviation consultant, SATIM is something that I advocate for a lot, because the more connected Africa becomes, the more connected tourism for Africa is going to actually blossom and prosper. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and happy Africa Tourism Day again to everyone here and to the entire team at Africa Tourism Board. Thank you very much, MC, and thank you very much, Ambassador Abigail, for putting this together. This is so awesome. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, Captain Emmanuel. Great. Happy Africa Tourism Day indeed. The date is November 26th, and this is the maiden edition. So this is the end of the program, but let's wrap it up with a Q&A session. We're going to ask a maximum of 10 questions if time permits. I'm going to take questions in order, in chronological order from the people who have raised their hands. So Mr. Lucky George, please unmute yourself and go ahead with your question. Keep it short and concise, and let us know who you are asking the question to, so that the speaker in question can answer you directly.
Yeah, good afternoon from Lagos. I don't know, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Fantastic, loud and clear, and we can see you as well.
Okay, fantastic.
Hear you very well.
Okay, my own is just a historical comment that I want to make. My name is Lucky Honorable George. I'm the publisher of African Travel Times here in Lagos, Nigeria. I want to say congratulations to Thomas, to Nkumbe, and of course Abigail, who were able to put this together. However, I have some just historical comment that I want to make. For more than 25 years that I've been in tourism, Africa has always been dictated and controlled and spoken for, like Madam Ali from Zambia said. We have African Travel Association for many years that was speaking on behalf of Africa. And we realized that they made a lot of valuable contribution to Africa. But because they were more or less like a quasi-private sector business setup, we were unable to achieve anything, either through the United Nations World Tourism Organization, which I know very well. I know the history, which you know that a Nigerian and African who was the chairman of African Travel Commission proposed the celebration of World Tourism Day worldwide. So my fear was that from the beginning, when Thomas first invited me to join the African Tourism Board, I asked him, is it going to be like ATA? Because at the end of the day, we will have problem. Now you can see how the private sector and the few government officials that were here had spoken eloquently. But when it comes to policy, the policy framework will truncate whatever we're doing as private sector. And that is why we are saying, look, this is a very good, wonderful opportunity because it's well attended. What does it want to achieve? Does it just want to achieve of coming together and, you know, talking about the private sector input and maybe occasionally some government officials who use the platform to promote themselves and promote their countries? What about the policy aspect of it? Do we work as a team? And that is my fear, and that is what I want this body to take note of. Otherwise, I was one of the first 3 people to join or to be part of the African Tourism Board, but I decided to sit on the board just to know what is going on so that I can learn from a lot of people. So I want this body not to be the way African Travel Association rolled on for many years, running around some presidents, some ministers of tourism. Walter Muzebi, who was the Minister of Tourism in Zimbabwe for many years, that I work for, knows me very well. And we have these issues. So I want us to avoid those pitfalls as far as African Tourism Board.
Right. Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Lucky George. I believe we've heard you. We're going to take our next a person from the audience. Fadima, please, Mr. Efetobo Ahwana, mute yourself if you're not speaking. It creates feedback and it's really, really distracting the program. So please mute yourself. Thank you very much. Fadimatu Nuchemo, you have asked, you want to ask a question. Please go ahead. Keep it very, very short. If it's a comment, we don't have much time. So please, in respect to any other person that wants to ask a question, keep it straightforward and short, and specify which person you want to address yourself to. Take the floor, please, Fadima.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I'm calling from my phone and I can't access my camera. So congratulations again to everyone. I'm Fadima too, and specifically focused on promoting tourism in Central Africa. It's not a question, it's just a plea. I'm very happy with all the interventions. And I want each and every one, if possible, to send a short video of their country, because educating the African minds in discovering through digital today is capital to encourage people to see and discover new destinations. We've been trying it out for the Central African region. We have 6 countries, and people through our outreach are amazed to see that they can just travel to the next country and discover the beauty. With the challenges we have, that will not stop us from promoting the African aviation. We need to get more and more visibility on our respective sites. That's my contribution, and I remain very open to get many more information from your other countries, because Africa is indeed beautiful, but we have to change our mindset to see the beauty. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We've heard you loud and clear. We're now going to take yet another lady. We have great gender balance in this Africa Tourism Day virtual conference. Madam Mariam Adam, it's your turn. You can unmute yourself. You can put your video on and ask your question. Yes, please go ahead.
First, Africa unites, okay? Africa, we are loud. The only thing I want to say, congratulations. You guys did it, but we need continuation. Like, this is the comment, not just the question. Africa, are you ready to fight this pandemic? Means Corona is not welcome. We need to embrace what we have. I want to echo our Dr. Benson, what he said. It is the truth. If we don't take ownership, like us, I live in Canada, and I wear my culture 24/7, and I impress it. So we need to impress Africa for being product of a product. We need to support Abigail and the team. It makes so beautiful today. We hear so much, we learn so much, but we don't want it to end. So Abigail and the team, please, continuation is the key. Continuation is the key, because our children need it, the charities, the vulnerability of our community and the culture and the people who live in the village to enhance it. Africa, people of Africa to live their resilience life. So it's up to us to wake up, okay? Pandemic, we had a corona, okay? We had a tsunamis, we had malarias all year round, okay? But we survived. So please, Africa, let's wake up. Africa needs us. We don't want other people to promote Africa while Africa, we are sleeping. No way, we are not sleeping. Let's wake up and let's lift our countries and let's cultures, you know, the children, enhance our clothes and color of Africa. Thank you, guys.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mariam Adam, for this passionate input. And yes, happy Africa Tourism Day, everyone. We have another question. This is in the chat window from Emile from Senegal, who says, how can we set up a globalizing tourism specific to Africa? I welcome you to Senegal. Well, there is no person in particular specifically, you know, that this question is being addressed to specifically. So any of the speakers here on board who would like to answer Emile's question about how can we set up a globalizing tourism specific to Africa. Anyone who wants to answer that, please put your video on, unmute yourself, and kindly answer the question to Emile from Senegal.
May I do that, madam? May I do that?
Thank you. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay.
Do that, Dr. Taleb.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, the most important part is to concentrate on domestic tourism. Domestic tourism is very, very important. It's the immediate thing we have at hand. I know that many countries don't take that seriously because we treat our tourists as if they're only tourists coming from outside. We treat them like gods coming on earth. That's not right. But when you pass that, you have two other things you can do. One is to recruit nomadic digital nomads. Digital nomads are young people that are looking for places to stay in for long periods of time. That's very important because instead of having 10 people coming for one day, you could have one person coming for 10 days and working there. You need to have a good internet, can recruit people for long-term stay. That's one approach. The other approach is Africa Cares. You know, Jamaica, for example, has embarked now on something called Jamaica Cares, which is basically an insurance policy you buy for COVID-19. You buy it with your ticket. It's $40. People are ready to buy that for a peace of mind. I think Africa should embark on a national program called Africa Cares. Anybody flying into Africa will buy this insurance policy. This insurance policy is specific for COVID. It would enable you to get treated if anything goes wrong or repatriated to your home if you want. You buy your peace of mind. And it's a very good thing to do with the private sector. As Dr. Hisham Zazour said, the private sector is very, very important to cooperate with us. So local underwriters in every country, insurance companies can be part of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Taleb Rifai, for answering Emile from Senegal. We have a comment here from Ismail Kaya, who says, my suggestion to all stakeholders who operate in accommodation sector is to categorize the price for accommodation for African against tourists from outside the African continent. For that matter, it will ease the promotion of Africa tourism. Please read that advice. Yes, Ismail Kaya, I've got you there and I've shared this. So I would like to ask one or two of our speakers to make a comment on this, you know, having different prices for, you know, tourists from Africa and from foreign tourists. Is it something that can be made? Is it sustainable? Is it something that is also fair to you? One or two speakers, please make a comment on this.
Hi, can I come in? Can I jump in? Hello?
Absolutely, Miss Edna.
Hi, this is Mrs. Edna Liatu-Hogan in Dublin here. Listen, I just want to jump on that because it's actually a good idea. For example, what we do at the chamber are all African registered companies, tour companies. they don't pay the same price membership fee as those registered in abroad, in America or Europe or elsewhere. So the reason why we decided to do that is to encourage African enterprises, tour companies, especially small to medium, to be able to afford and to access the benefits, the services that we offer. So I don't see why this shouldn't be able to be applied in terms of regional tourism. So you don't charge the same price to a local as what you charge to a tourist. I've seen this happening where I live. I live in Europe, mainly in Dublin here in Ireland, and regional domestic tourism is very successful. It's actually grouped under cultural tourism. And the reason why it's very successful is because there are so many initiatives they apply here to encourage people to do within travel to boost the domestic tourism. And this has been very helpful during the pandemic. It's only now because of the total lockdown, which we are level 5. But before this, we had like level 3, level 2, level 1. People are still traveling within. As you guys know, it's a culture in developed world. You must take at least 3 holidays a year or short holidays within domestic holidays. It's common. Even with my family, you go maybe 2 big holidays in a year, maybe 2 or 3 small, maybe a week here, a week there during the year as well. Domestically, and then you go internationally. Now, because of the pandemic, the international travel it's not really attractive anymore. So the government here in Europe really encouraged, they pumped money into domestic tourism. So that's something that we can do in African countries. But in terms of the fee, absolutely, we should definitely lower the charges. That's the way we do at our chamber. If an African tourism tour company wants to join our chamber, we charge them a lot less than a European tour company. And this is to encourage them to boost it, because we know economically they're not as strong as maybe some of them that are over here. So yeah, I agree on that. That's just my contribution. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Ms. Edna Layatu Hogan on this. Does anyone else want to make a point on that particular topic? If yes, I'm going to take one more comment on that. And if not, I would like to also chip in with a question, which will be directed at Ms. Edna. So anyone else who wants to make a comment on this?
Yes.
All right, great. Yes, please. Mr. Walter Mzambi, please go ahead.
It's a good question. It should be part of domestic tourism recovery efforts. So it must be embedded in policy that local populations are being incentivized to now test their own local products in the first instance. So it is the upside, the positive side of COVID in terms of discriminatory pricing. But going forward into the future, it has to be packaged properly and not seen as discriminatory pricing, but as a beginning in terms of prescriptive solutions to the recovery of domestic tourism. It certainly must be prescribed as a policy prescription to bring domestic tourism back and also inter-regional travel within Africa. Tourism is a function of affordability. It's a function of countries' ability to raise a middle class that can consume the product. And Africa doesn't yet host a significant middle class. And therefore, as a policy prescription, incentivized travel must be encouraged. There will be in the future products like school tourism, incentive travel for civil servants as part of their employment conditions. All that can be creatively applied to the question raised. But long-term, sustainably, we must package the wording correctly so that the globe does not feel discriminated against African products through price skimming. When we start charging very extortionate prices in order to recover the prices that we would have offered to locals. So it must be done craftily. I thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Walter Mzambi, on mentioning the expression no discriminatory pricing. This is really interesting. We could go on and on this topic, which was triggered by Emile from Senegal. But let's take a comment from, I believe from Kenya. Okay, so that's Noella Mumba, who asked, how can Africa as a continent invest in online reputation? How can we have a collective, powerful slogan that will drive a campaign to attract more tourists to the continent, just like how Kenya does it with Magica Kenya, Tembea Kenya, etc. And we also have Visit Rwanda, for example. So anyone who wants to make a comment on that, please chip in right away. And before anyone chips in, let me also announce that the polls are closing in 5 minutes. And so all the participants, please, please, please go on the website right now, africatourismday.org. You have the link in the chat window. Go there and click on the poll. Choose what is your best African destination. We will be announcing the winner, the winning country, right after this answer to Noella Mumba's question on how can Africa as a continent invest in online reputation and have a collective, powerful slogan. Yes.
May I? Please.
Absolutely. Glad to have you again, Dr. Taleb Rifai. Please answer this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm against two things. I'm against making one brand for Africa altogether. I think Africa is so diverse that it deserves so much more than just one brand. Imagine all of Europe being one brand. That's not right. I think each country, each culture must have a brand. But you could all work together to achieve that collectively. I think there is so much diversity in Africa that it deserves more than a brand. Now, I want to also respond a little bit to what Walter said on the issue of domestic tourism and the prices of the hotels. I think one of the good ways out of this is not to make the hotels announce the prices. Travel agents must make packages for Africans that are much better than packages for the foreigners. But don't let the hotels announce different prices. You should never sell Africa cheap. That's my point of view. Thank you so much.
Wow, really interesting opinion on having the different prices for Africa. Some could say that, well, making African travelers a favor, and you've mentioned not having to sell Africa cheap. This could be the topic for a very, very long debate, but we don't have so much time. We have basically 5 more minutes to go. I've shared again the link to the poll in the chat window, so please go there, vote on it, and let's know what is Africa's most exciting and fascinating destination according to you. We will be announcing the winner very, very soon. I'm going to take a comment from Ronald Stitland, who says African is so diverse that each African country should push their own brands, but the ATB, etc., should politically push for ease of regulations, which make tourism easier and cheaper, such as visa, etc. Well, I'm going to assume that most of us agree with Ronald's comments. We are closing very, very soon.
Very correct.
Absolutely, yes. So we are closing very, very soon, and we have to say thanks to all our partners. We have to say thanks to the host of this program, Madam Abigail Olagbaye, the Africa Tourism Board, all of you, our speakers, for this wonderful input, and you, the audiences who've made this possible, because we've been a lot on this platform. A lot of people have signed in. Other people are following it on Facebook. It's been a very, very successful tournament. Very successful event. I said tournament, probably my background in football. Anyways, my name is Angela Ikuya Asante, aka Triple A. We are about to wrap up, and I'm hoping to have Madam Abigail Olagbaye on board to announce the winner of the poll. Madam Abigail, would you like to take the floor and announce who has won this poll of Africa's best destination? Yes, take the floor.
Yes, we give about 2 minutes. The results have been compiled at the moment. Just 2 minutes, I'll get back.
Great, just in 2 minutes. Okay, so fantastic. 2 minutes is fine. And 2 minutes will permit us to finish at the top of the hour as envisioned. So before we go, let me also add this. I have a comment on my own, actually. Although I'm the MC and moderator, I also have my comments to make. And the point about languages, we've made a point about Africa having, being so diverse that we cannot have one slogan. And let me also make a point about the languages. This is a continent with over 3,000 languages. And although there have been calls in the past to have a common language, my personal opinion, as a proud citizen of Ghana and of the African continent, is for each and every tribe and country to explore and speak their own languages, and then for the languages of the territory you find yourself in to be one that you have to also adopt and learn, and in that way we can all be united and all be happy, because there is no way we can cancel out somebody else's tradition and languages and culture. So if you find yourself in I don't know, maybe in Nigeria, if you find yourself among the Igbos, it will make sense to learn their language and at the same time also speak other languages. The good thing with us Africans is we do have a very, very good ear and brain to absorb languages. We are all multilingual, which is fantastic. On this note, let's really harness, unity. And this is the Africa Tourism Day. So that's what it's all about. No rivalry, just being united, enjoying what this continent has to offer, and remembering that today has been very historic as the first ever celebration of the Africa Tourism Day, now being November 26th. This and every year on November 26th, this is going to be the moment for Africa to celebrate its tourism and its resources in the tourism space. And this is all thanks to Madam Abigail Olagbaye. It's been a really huge pleasure to moderate and MC this program, whereby we cannot go, we cannot go by the fact that there has been a very good gender balance, lots of female speakers, and lots of powerful speeches and passionate ones, great audiences with great comments. I'll take one last comment before we announce the winner of the poll. We have we have Emil Mbuna Nyoke, who says, would there be a follow-up, a well-structured network of tourism actors in Africa? This is a question that I'm sure the speakers will be able to answer, not right now, but probably if you network with them a bit later. And also, okay, well, that's a comment for me. Well done, Tripoye. You are doing well. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to host you, to MC and moderate this program. Madam Abigail Olagbaye, back to you for the winner of the poll. Which African country is the best destination for tourism? Do you have the answer?
Yes, so the results are ready. And let me put on my video. All right. Okay. Yes. So the winner, before I announce the winner of the poll, Africa's most exciting and fascinating travel destination. We, as a run-up to the main event of today, we had a photo contest. And of course, we also had Plant a Tree program. We had a photo contest. And as we speak, I'm happy to announce that we have a winner for our photo contest. And I'm going to announce the winner right now. And when I'm done with that, then we'll announce the winner of the polls as well. Now, I interest you to know that our winner for the photo contest wins an all-expense paid trip to Cape Town, South Africa in 2021, any date from January 1 to the last day in December. You could pick any date. You have a 5-day free, all expense paid trip to Cape Town, where you get to visit Robben Islands and a couple of other interesting destinations. So that is the price for this photo contest. This is our maiden edition, and I know that subsequently the prizes would even be more mouth-watering. So our winner for the Africa Tourism Day photo contest is 3, 2, and 1. His name is Steven Sigado from Zambia. Yeah, he is the winner of the photo contest. Congratulations, Steven. You won this. Congratulations. So we will contact you and we'll take it from there. And quickly, the winner of the Africa Tourism Day, the winner of the Africa Tourism Day poll for Africa's most exciting and fascinating travel destination is Tanzania. Yeah, of course, closely followed by Mozambique and Nigeria, but we can only have one winner.
Wow.
Tanzania,
wow.
Tanzania, yeah.
Represented by Miss Edna Layatu Hogan.
Thank you. Can I just say something, Abigail? Can I add something there? Please. We are actually, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
We are actually organizing a virtual live event where we're going to showcase the beauty of Tanzania in partnership with our amazing Zara Tours. So guys, please keep an eye out. When the date is confirmed, we will let you know. We are going to really promote that part of the Africa to the Western and also Africa as well. We would love to see you all joining in on that day. So it's something new we're trying to do to promote tourism in Africa. And now we're going to start with Tanzania, but also we're going to move to other countries as well in Africa. So get ready, join our chamber. We'll do amazing things together. Thank you so much. I'm delighted.
Wow, that's the spirit.
Karibu Tanzania.
That's the
Karibu Tanzania. Karibu.
Yeah, karibu. Yeah, asante, karibu sana Tanzania. Beautiful. Thank you, guys.
So, can I go ahead with my vote of thanks right now, or do we still have other items on the agenda?
Yes, please, Madam Abigail. Let's have your vote of thanks, and let's just say bye-bye to all of us.
Okay, after my vote of thanks, we're going to have our chairperson, Africa Tourism Board. He'll give his closing remarks, and then we say bye-bye and see you in 2021. So we are so delighted and overjoyed to host and convene this August and epoch-making event today, Africa Tourism Day, the first of its kind on a continent, in the history of our phenomenal continent, Africa Tourism Day. It's a pleasure, it's a great honor to have you join us, to have you spend 4 good hours of your time with us. It's so appreciated. Thank you so much, all our partners, our sponsor Entel. Thank you so much. All our partners from all over the world, Africa Canada Commerce Exchange, for the support. Women of Value, thank you so much for the support. Africa Tourism Board, thank you so much for supporting the SIGO to organize this. Thank you so much. We thank Tanzania Chamber of Commerce. We thank you so much for the support. We thank all our other partners, Kalo Media, New Telegraph Magazine, eTogo News, World Tourism Network. Thank you so much for hosting this event on your platform. We are grateful. All our speakers, we are enamored. We are overwhelmed, with joy. Thank you. We can't thank you enough. Dr. Taleb Rifai, thank you so much. all our amazing speakers from everywhere, from all corners of the continent. Thank you from Egypt, our former Minister, Honorable Hisham Zazu. We thank you so much, Mrs. A.B. Seymodel. Thank you so much. I can't go through the entire list because of time, but we are grateful. We are grateful. Thank you so much. And to all our participants, so our moderator, Angela, CEO, Peter Productions, you have done an amazing job today. We appreciate you. Thank you from Ghana, Prince Bompong, we appreciate you. Thank you from Chamber of Tourism, Ghana. Thank you so much. Ambassador Emmanuel, I remember, thank you so much. Ambassador Dimakatso, I appreciate you. Women of Value chairperson and founder, we appreciate you. Thank you so much, our participants from everywhere, from Canada, from Europe, from Ireland, from all over Africa, from Turkey. Thank you, Friends of Africa and all Africans everywhere, all Nigerians, thank you so much. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's have the chairman to close this session. Chairman, please take the floor with your closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Angela. You've done a very great job. Maybe may I just say to Mrs. Edna that if I could be allowed to do an audit on our winning partners. But nevertheless, I would like to congratulate Tanzania. It's a lovely place indeed. I've been there and visited a couple of islands there. But colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, true indeed. Dr. Taleb, Africa is the future of the world, whether we believe it or not, whether we want it or not. So let us be part of the restructuring, rebranding our continent, rebranding our destinations. The stretch of land that surpasses any other, prepared and given by the Creator for our own agritourism, the migration of animals, the precious gems still embedded and engraved in our Mother Africa's belly, our diverse culture heritage, fashions. Lexi, I was very fascinated when you talk about, going back to our African pride. I totally agree with yourself. It is time to return our identity and be proudly Africans. This is the time to walk the talk, to write our own narrative. Let's move beyond the robust engagements, discussions. It can only be activated and implemented by yourself, implemented by myself today. We have almost 10 countries represented here on behalf of African Tourism Board. I urge and challenge all of us, let's get down to business. We have decried for a long time in issues of connectivity, issues of cohesive approach across the value chains, as we are propagating intra-Africa trade, inter-Africa connectivity, intra-Africa investment, intra-Africa travel. Let's build bridges of connectivity. Let's cross-pollinate and move away from walking in silos. And there is power in unity. May I humbly thank all our honored presenters, our highly esteemed audiences who have converged in this discussion in celebrating and, by the way, inaugurating of the African Tourism Board. And to all our host country, it is with great admiration, especially in Nigeria, to unveil and grace this event in your doorsteps. I believe 2021, we will all converge on the African Tourism Day. The host country will be announced soon. This time, I believe it will be physical celebration. Let's all proudly wear the garment of brand Africa. Let us wear the brand ambassador of all our destinations. I thank you so much. Looking forward to receive you in our 2021 celebrations of Africa Tourism Day. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. Merci, Medawase. And joyeuse journée du tourisme en Afrique. Happy Africa Tourism Day. This is the end of the program, everybody. So I will have to say bye. Bye from me, Angela Piasanti, aka AAA, MC and moderator for the day, CEO of Tita Productions, and hopefully see you soon in 2021. Bye for me. Bye for now. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.